We're proud to bring you this live presentation on Racer TV of the 50th anniversary of the Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series, presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. 50 years of world premier off-road racing. 50 years of battling the gnarliest woods racing on the planet. It's time to start a new chapter. The next 50 years starts now.
Monterey, Tennessee for the Specialized Old Gray GNCC round number 5, and over the last 3 rounds it has been the Bryson Neal Show. Can he make it 4 in a row here today? All that and more starts right here on Racer TV. Are you ready to go GNCC Racer? Johnny Gallagher, we are back. GNCC on Racer TV, man. Monterey, Tennessee. Second time we've been to this facility. What a difference a year makes. This was an absolute monsoon last year. The Specialized Old Gray GNCC. Little chilly out here today, but man, we are in for a treat today.
Yeah, absolutely. A very interesting racetrack here this weekend. And man, it's I think it's going to provide us some wheel-to-wheel action. I actually got a chance to get out there, check out the track myself, and what a facility this is, what a track it is. And it's very different, very old-school GNCC, baby.
We love that. That's what we like to hear. Well, we go back a couple of weeks ago, and hey, our man, John Glotta, we've talked a lot about him over the last few years. A lot of emphasis on him coming into the season from those that are bench racing like myself, from you that know firsthand, from his competitors, saying, man, this guy is fast. He's going to get some podiums. Maybe flirt with a win this season. Finally put it all together a couple of weeks ago, put it on the box.
Yeah, putting it on the box in second place. Obviously, it was a breakthrough ride for John. He's a former podium finisher, former XC2 champion. A lot of hype around him many years ago. Some injuries, some off seasons, but it's good to see him back at full stride and at full speed. Didn't quite have the stuff to match Bryson Neal, but did run with him for a little bit there at the beginning of the race, and actually led for a little bit. So it was cool to see him out front. Bryson Neal getting the job done, though, baby. 3 for 3. You know, Bryson talks about that 4 for 4, and you know he's going to be shooting that for here today. But it was a battle. You know, Bryson was able to get out front. We saw him. You know, he talked about how he was happy to get that one little crash out of the way.
Yes.
And it's kind of funny. You know, when you're firing on all cylinders, a little mistake like that doesn't really jam you up too much. So he was able to get the win, and then obviously Walker Fowler rounding out that final podium position in a crazy come from behind ride, where he pretty much said he had to pass everybody in the XC1 class except for obviously Bryson and John Glotta at least once, most of them twice. So salvaging some points on the day, keeping him in the hunt. But man, it was a great day of racing for sure. A heart, I don't want to say it, but a heartbreaker for Hart.
Yes,
I mean, had that final podium position until the final turns. Walker Fowler just coming from way behind, wrestling that position away and grabbing the final podium spot. Bryson Neal started to stretch it out a little bit at the front, now with a 14-point lead over Walker Fowler. But then's where the gap really starts to open up. A big jump back to Hunter Hart. I believe it's 32 points from Walker Fowler back to Hunter Hart. Those 3 right at the end of that list. Austin Abney, obviously Jared McClure, and also Jay Shadron. 3 riders that would be at the short end of my list of people that I think are going to have good rides here today on this very rocky, very technical, very old school facility. Another rider that I think we know does well in these conditions, has done well in rock races before, has done well in all kinds of races. You know, Walker Fowler trying to get himself back a little closer to Bryson Neal after winning round 1. Bryson able to pull those points out. I think we had a chance to catch up with Walker and get his thoughts on exactly how this season's going and maybe what it's going to take to get himself back in this championship fight.
You got to keep winning. You got to slow the number 1 down, and you got to start stealing wins back. So I don't know what I got to do to figure out how to do that, but that's going to be the only way to make it happen. Obviously, getting the machine to the finish line too. It's very rare that all the pro racers finish all the races. Last year, I think, was my 15th professional season, and only the 3rd time I'd finished all the races. So the odds of a DNF or a bad race are pretty high, and if you can't win, you got to be second, and taking that third last race really stung because that was a 9-point swing, and 9 points is a lot. Losing 5 here and there isn't a big deal, but the 9 hurts. So I just gotta figure out how to stay up front. So I am happy with the points right now and how the season's going, but gotta be a little better.
All right, it was great to catch up with Walker Fowler. I think he's going to be pretty determined here today. I have no doubt about it. He wants to get back in this fight. Johnny, we got to show some love to the XC2, man. Braxton Gross coming off a huge win. Jeremiah Wolf, how about him? First ever XC2 podium. Just a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jeremiah Wolf just pushing it all the way to the finish. Not that far behind Braxton Gross, but Braxton putting in a pretty commanding win there. And then there was a battle for that final podium position with Junkin James Glauda coming around there, holding on to that final podium position, but Alex Tiemann absolutely knocking on the door, trying to get himself on that podium. And he was trying to do that because he is our XC2 points leader, and he wanted to hang on to that, any lead he could over the closest man behind him, which is Braxton Gross.
That's right. Hey, it was a good day to be a Glauda. A couple of podiums in the XC1 and the XC2. Tiemann still controlling that lead in the XC2, though, doing what he needed to do. Hey, you've heard enough from us. We want to see what these guys are going to face as far as a course. Again, like we said, what a difference a year makes. This is not going to be a mutter. We've got great conditions, great track, and to catch us up on what they're going to face today, we've got Jackson Burrell standing by with our trail boss, Jared Bolton, for a Yamaha Racing track description.
All right, thanks, guys. We're down here at the barn with our trail boss, Jared Bolton. Jared, what can we expect here this weekend at the Old Gray?
I'll tell you, you can expect some beautiful technical trail. Old Gray was new last year. It's still really on the tight side. Big rocks, technical trail. Most places we go, we aim for 10 or 12 miles. Only about a little over 9.5 here. So a shorter track, but that's all they're going to want out of the rocks, the roots, the hills, all the good technical Tennessee stuff there.
All right, there you go, guys. A glimpse of the track, and back up to you.
All right, thank you, Jackson and Jared. We appreciate that overview of what these guys are going to be facing out there on this very, very challenging Old Gray racetrack here today. We're going to let our man Mikey Waynes head down to do some 10-second calls to get this racing underway. We're going to bring you all the racing action live on Racer TV right after this.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVNC.com. Get ready.
All right, and we want to welcome everybody watching at home on RacerTV.com. We are about to do our pro rider introductions. You know what we say. Without further ado, rolling to the line in accordance to points coming into today, the #1 out of Bidwell, Ohio, aboard the Phoenix Racing Yamaha, the Bidwell Bullet, Bryson Neal. Rolling to the line next, the #2 out of Rogers, Ohio, aboard the WFR, Kenda, and Fly Racing-backed Yamaha, Walker Fowler. Up next, the #6 out of Newfield, New York, aboard the HHR Fly Racing and Quad Tech-backed Yamaha, Hunter Hards. Up next, the 712. Coming off a sensational ride just a couple of weeks ago out of Waxhaw, North Carolina, aboard the Pierce Performance Action Off-Road Phoenix Racing Yamaha, John Glauda Jr. Up next, the #5 out of Elk Ridge, Maryland, on the B&R Motorsports Fearless and Kenda Tires-backed Yamaha, Stephen Harrell. And now the number 4 out of Akron, Ohio, aboard the B&R Motorsports GBC and Merritt Racing backed Yamaha, Josh Merritt. The number 3 out of Hillsboro, Ohio, aboard the SBR GBC and Pierce Performance backed Yamaha, Wyatt Wilkin. The number 18 out of Acme, Pennsylvania, on the Action Off-Road Kenda and Custom Access backed Yamaha, Jay Shadron. The 703 out of Petersburg, Indiana, on the Action Off-Road Maxxis and Lone Star Racing backed Yamaha, Austin Abney. The number 9 out of Casca, Pennsylvania, on the GBC Elka and Moose Racing backed Honda, the Cobra, Jared McClure. The number 10 out of Sunbury, Pennsylvania, on the Action Off-Road Amsoil CB Racing backed Yamaha, Chris Borich. The 521 out of Waverly, West by God, Virginia, on the Ober Moose Racing and Parts Unlimited backed Honda, the Gator, Adam McGill. The 246 out of Walker, West by God, Virginia, on the Sturdivant Racing Maxxis and Moose Racing backed Yamaha, Brandon Owens. The 171 out of Salisbury, North Carolina, on the Phoenix Racing Yamaha, Grayson Eller. And last but certainly not least, the 714 out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on the Bulletproof Doors, Kenda Tires, and Singe Graphics backed Yamaha, Ronnie Rush. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your starting row for the XC1 Pro class here at the Specialized Old Gray GNCC in Monterey, Tennessee. Our second time here in Tennessee at the Old Gray as DJ Judd now exits the Mobile Entertainment Activation Transport, jumps into the Yamaha R-Max 1000. And this is where we like to say, DJ Judd, remove the meat. As DJ Judd makes his way off of the starting line, a reminder, all spectators must be behind the white stringer line. All spectators must be behind the white stringer line, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So DJ Judd makes his way off of the starting line with the Mobile Entertainment Activation Transport, and now all eyes will begin to fixate on Ricky Towery down in turn number 1. A whole shot award up for grabs courtesy of Wildside. Wildside here on location with us. Can't encourage you enough if you're here. Check them out. 1 minute. 1 minute. Until we are ready to go. Specialized Old Gray GNCC Racing for round number 5 as Ricky steps back. He looks down at his watch. And there it is. Blue flag waves, blue flag waves. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. As we are just about ready to roll now. And I got to ask you, Monterey, Tennessee, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Oh, that's pretty good, but we have been racing GNCC for 50 years. If you're here, you're part of history. You got to get loud and proud. I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds for row number 1, the XC1 Pro. Bang, and we're off. Wildside whole shot award up for grabs. Jay Shadron, is it going to be? Oh no! it is going to be the number 9 of Jared McClure, the sneaky snake. Man, maybe that is the start that Jared McClure needs to put that machine on the box. A lot of racing in between now and then. 10 seconds. XC2 B&R Motorsports Whole Shot Award up for grabs. Keaton Henderson, Dalton Keys, Andrew Bonoski, Andre Williams, Drew Landers, Braxton Gross, Elijah Edmondson, Kenny Schick, Alex Tiemann. And that looked like the 2-2-3 of Braxton Gross. Man, this young man has been absolutely sensational, putting that LMR Motors and Elka machine to good use early in this one. Row number 3, College A, 16-19, 10 seconds. Talon Stout, Jackson Carroll, Dylan Trigg, Isaac Hart, Trevor Meadows, Ryan Wilhelm, Caden Lambruno, Gavin Mann, Evan Osborne, Sailor Bolin, Triple Exo, Nicholas Daring, Whole Shot. That's the 7-11 of Jordan Berg out of Runnels, Iowa on that HVG and Trex Performance back ride. Grabbing that Whole Shot and early lead as we reset with the Vet A 28 Plus. Waiting on the signal. There it is. 10 seconds. Thomas Coons, Dawson Como, Chris Biggs, Alan Blavos, Hunter Johnson, Craig Bowman, Christopher Kirby, Simon Warren, Zach Bothwell, J.D. Higgins, and Fred Marley. 179. That is going to be Dason Comex out of Madison, Indiana on the Honda. Dason, come hang out with me, bro. I got to figure out how to say the last name. I'm probably butchering it. Here we go. 10 seconds. Junior A, 20 plus. David Machisco, Connor Brandt, Ryan Hendershot, Jeremy Ladon, Riley Salick, Colton Kushta, Trevor Furby, Anthony Mascari, Briggs Lazelle, Colton Dobbs, Whole Shot 037. That is Connor Brandt out of Rogers, Ohio on that B&R Motorsports and GBC back ride. Grabbing that Whole Shot and early lead as we are kicking up the dust. What a difference a year makes. And we are holding. We got a little pile up right into that third turn. Wait on the signal from Ricky Towery, getting things sorted out. Think everybody's all right. Just trying to get them back on four wheels and rolling. Couple still hung up. Senior A, 40 plus, coming up next. Here we go. 10 seconds. Dirk Cacerci, Papa P, Jeff Pickens, Will Jones, Ben Dunlap, Howard Cawley, Sean Slattery, Zachary Phillips, Chris Conklin, and the Marlboro man, Todd Muscala. JP Pickens. Well, that counts too. Jeffrey Pickens picking up where the little guy left off this morning, grabbing a Whole Shot. College B, 16-18. 10 seconds. Keelan Eigelberger, James Berger, Andrew Adams, Austin Kiger, J.N. Mittner, Austin Miller, Brady Torres, Brody Foster, Trip Marino, Barrett Childers, Kellen Buchanan, Braden Garrett, Connor Humphreys, Jaden Verdon, and Whole Shot 950. That is going to be Owen Sullivan out of Columbus, Indiana on the Danco Roofing Service back ride. One machine down just after the first turn, back up on four wheels and rolling. You got it, buddy. That's a 405. Kellen Buchanan got some time to make up there. 10 seconds. Junior B, 19 plus. Hunter Griffith, Austin Turner, Coley McCord, Sam Coons, Dakota Adams, Evan Young, Latarian Horton, Zach Schilling, Ben Ledman, Tyler Fisher, Evan Lowmiller, Ian Burns. Whole Shot's going to go to the 587 of Adam Zafel out of Somerset, Ohio. Two riders getting tangled up there in the first turn, trying to get them untangled. Help is on the way. Look at that, Ricky Towery's granddaughter. I told you, she's in the fight, man. Arr, arr. Looks like a Doberman on a T-bone steak down there. Help is on the way. These two machines have become fused together. Wait on the signal from Ricky Towery. Vet B20, there we go. Good work, everybody. That was a team effort. Mercy sakes. Wait on the signal from Ricky. Blue flag waves. We got them shut down. And we are ready for our Vet B 28 plus. 10 10 seconds. Tanner Dovisick, Zachary DeNoble, Clayton Kawasaki, Russell Trapp, Jeffrey Smith, Eric Murphy, Frederick Harder, Brent Pennington, Christopher Streebing, Barry Nicholson, Pog McCloskey, and whole shot 868. That is Amy Dunlap out of Greenville, Pennsylvania, on that Benny D's on and off-road backed Honda with the whole shot and early lead. Senior B, 40 plus. 10 seconds. Aaron Delancey, Jason Noble, Jason Duke, Joseph Alberts, Ricky Lewis, Denny Carson, Chris Berry, Gregory Head, Nicholas Ringer, Robert Perry, Richard Bolin, Chad Wallace, Neil Shepard, Matthew Hartwell, and Steven Self. Coming into the whole shot, it's going to be the 357 of Ricky Lewis out of Canova, West Virginia. On that B&R Motorsports back ride. Two guys getting tangled up right there in the first turn. And they're off and rolling. And let's make sure we got one guy right here trying to get that machine fired up. Do not cross in front of that feller. They're going to try and push start him. So again, don't cross in front of him, folks. Walk around behind him. There he goes. Double up. Got it. There you go. Hot track coming into the first and second turn. Do not cross the track, folks. All right, we're going to take a short commercial break, get in a word from our sponsors, and be back with more. Hi, Mark Miguel. Good to see you. We'll be back with more from the Specialized Old Gray GNCC right after this.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a man. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 50th annual season of Progressive Grand National Cross Country Racing. This is round 5 of the 2025 GNCC Series. My name is Jackson Burl. I'm going to be alongside Zach Heron as well as Mikey Waynes and Johnny G here today to bring you all of today's action. Zach, it's good to be back here at the Old Gray.
Man, absolutely. Our second year here in Monterey, Tennessee. An amazing location and some great weather this weekend as well. A little chilly, I think, caught some people off guard, but the sun is shining. We've got a great racetrack and a great race in store for our PM Pro race. Bryson Neal, Walker Fowler. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's going to be an exciting 2 hours for sure.
It is, and we've got quite the track for them here today. Everybody loving this Tennessee track so far, so it is going to be a good one, no doubt.
Well, still plenty of questions as to how things are going to end, but let's take a look at how things got kicked off with our specialized start recap, show you exactly who's starting up front and who's got their work cut out for them over the next few hours. We know how important that start can be, and man, starting right off with our XC1 Pro class, we know how important it's going to be. The green flag flew, and it was a drag race headed into turn number 1. Look at this. Jay Shadron looked like he was going to sneak away and grab the early race lead, but how about it, the sneaky snake? Jared McClure actually credited with grabbing that whole shot award, but man, talk about making it happen, good or bad start. Bryson Neal worked his way from outside the top 5, headed into turn 1 to second place by the end of that turn 3 when they headed off into the woods. Man, this guy makes it happen no matter what obstacles get thrown in his way. Look at this. How about that? That hay bale going to have to go see Doc Tanner at the SOS medical tent, but no problems for Braxton Gross. Man, this kid is running on a high right now, feeling the momentum of this 2025 season and trying to make round number 5 another win in the books for him. But Gross, he's got some fast company behind him. You could see several riders having some trouble in those switchbacks, Jackson. It's kind of it's a first turn that leads into about 2 to 3 corners, 180. We saw some guys trying to cut up underneath, a couple of bikes getting tangled together as well. So some riders really having their work cut out for them. Others, they're up front and got some clean air. Just about 10 miles on this track as we take a look at our Yamaha Racing race format. 2 hours in length. We've got our XC1 Pro and our XC2 Pro-Am, primarily of what we're going to be focusing on, but we have tons more, hundreds more racers out on track at one time, Jackson. And as we pull up that Yamaha Racing track map, we welcome Johnny G into the booth as well. Johnny, our second year here at the Old Gray. We talk about the way these courses develop from year to year. It was a little bit tighter, similar to what we saw at Talladega this year at the Old Gray last year. A little different weather conditions as well. What do you think we'll see here in 2025?
Well, the word of the day is going to be rocks. Lots of them, virtually the whole way around this track. It is kind of segmented in half, so you can see you start off here, you kind of stay on one side of the ridge, you go down near that FMF power point. The track crosses a ravine, can't really tell the topography on this map, but it goes down into a deep ravine. When it comes out the other side, the dirt on the other half of this facility, much better. Less rocks, but still rocks. The big chatter around the track this weekend for both 2 and 4 wheels is as the guys were going and checking out the track, as we saw those morning and youth races this morning start to develop, a lot of rocks came up out of the ground. Last year you walked in the woods, you're like, oh, this place is so pretty, all the colors, and then now it's just the rocks are coming up out of the ground, and it's making a very, very challenging racetrack.
Well, as if the course itself wasn't challenging enough, we got to bring in the competition. We take a look at our Rocky Mountain ATVMC points breakdown. Bryson Neal starting to stretch things out just a little bit, 14 points in front of Walker Fowler. Hunter Hart consistently doing well up inside that top 5, but he's just missed out on that podium several times. He's in the 3rd place spot with 69 points. John Glada Jr., who we saw get some momentum going his way, now moves up to the 4th place spot, 1 point in front of Stephen Harrell, who we know has had a great 2025. Can't count out Josh Merritt, Wyatt Wilkin. They always seem to be glued to each other in the points as well. This is a good points breakdown for some great racing the second half of this 2025 season.
I think the biggest thing you see when you look at that top 10 there is you got those top 2 out front that are separated only by 14 points. But the biggest thing is those guys have 32 points. Walker Fowler has 32 points on 3rd, only 4 rounds into the series. Those 2 are starting to march away big time in this points chase. But then just behind those, 10 points separating the next 4 in points. So your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th place riders absolutely glued together in that points chase, and that's going to lead to some really exciting racing action because those guys are badly needing to get on the podium or grab a win here today to get themselves up closer to that top 3.
Well, and similar to what we've been talking about on the two-wheel side of things, the depth of the field here in this XC1 Pro class, it's started to become just a little bit more about limiting those bad days, right? We even heard from Hunter Hart a little earlier today saying, hey, yeah, maybe I haven't quite had the results, but I've consistently been flirting with those podiums, top 5 finishes, and have been able to manage my bad days as well. He finds himself in the 3rd place spot. So there's a lot of highs and lows. You have the Wyatt Wilkins, the Josh Merritts that we know have podium, even potential win speed, but sometimes Lady Luck not been on their side, and they're trying to dig themselves out of a hole for the rest of the season.
Well, that's just exactly it, guys. You know, last year we saw Hunter Hart, from his own words, a dumpster fire. I mean, ending up number 6. Look at this. Bryson Neal out front there on the big number 1 machine, and just behind him looks like it is one of the Hondas, and it is still the number 9, the sneaky snake of Jared McClure, and then that's Jay Shadron in the number 3 spot. Missed a couple guys there. There's Chris Borch on the number 10 machine running up close to the top 5. There's John Glauda Jr. Then it's Walker Fowler, Adam McGill, Wyatt Wilkins, Stephen Harrell, Hunter Hart, Grayson Eller, and Ronnie Rush all coming by. So that's pretty much the entirety of your XC1 class. There was a couple guys we did miss in there. And then here comes Austin Abney on the 703 machine, still very much in touch with the riders in front of him. Austin Abney, one I was expecting to really have to watch today. This track, I liken it more to a local track. It's tighter, it's got a lot of rocks, it's more technical. And that section of racetrack that they just came out of, that is the first time anybody's come through that section. Today, our morning race kind of came from left of camera right here and turned and went up that hill. So this is the first. Now we're seeing Braxton Gross getting the whole shot in that XC2 class, and that's bad news for the rest of the competition. He's been lightning fast this year. Jeremiah Wolf right behind him, and then it's Elijah Edmondson in that number 3 spot. So we got to keep an eye out for Alex Tiemann, your points leader in that XC2 class. If we get some shots here, we know he's going to be on a mission to try to get himself a little further up in the points. Then it's actually Andrew Banoski in the number 4 spot. Ryder found his first podium at round 1. Hasn't found that same success yet, but has been very strong through this one. There we see look like Kenny Schick. There is Tiemann right there. The last bike that we did see go by is your XC2 points leader, Alex Tiemann. Now here comes the rest of that XC2 class. There's Alex Elioff. Looks like Dalton Keys, and not sure. That might be your overall amateur leader, Likens.
Oh, wow.
That I'm pretty certain that was Likens coming by there. So already up in to about the middle of that XC2 class, not even the back of the pack. So lightning fast through those first 6 miles of racetrack for, I believe that's Cole Likens, the older of the two. Yep. I always get them mixed up. I apologize. I think Noah is still racing our morning race in the amateur all-star class.
And this is this camera is on the far end of the property, so this is about as far as they're going to get from us here on the Racer TV truck. But one of the riders you touched on there, our XC2 points leader, Alex Tiemann, he seems to be mighty comfortable being outside the top 5 early in the races. I know this guy wants to get a good start, but man, he seems to be able to march his way forward, especially those last 2 laps. It's like he's able to find an extra gear.
You know, I think Alex Tiemann, the thing that he has going for him in the XC2 class is confidence, grit. You know, he just bears down, grits his teeth, and he goes after these guys late in the race, and he just keeps charging. He's what I call farm boy strong. You know, you look at him, he's just a stocky guy. Now look at this. Bryson Neal starting to march away. Jared McClure now under heavy pressure. And look at that, in the number 4 spot, we missed him. That's Brandon Owens on that Cerdant Racing Yamaha. And there is Josh Merritt just behind him. So those guys are putting pressure all the way up to Jared McClure for that number 2 spot. Then comes Glauda. Then it's Fowler, Borich, McGill, Wilkin, Harrell, and still all right together. Then it's Hunter Hart. You know he's a little further back than he'd like to be. Grayson Eller and Ronnie Rush hanging on. Look at this. Austin Abney starting to put in a push, get a little bit closer to the back. Something might have happened to Abney there. Again, a couple of riders we talked about in the pre-show when Mikey and I were thinking about how things were going to shape up today. You know, Jared McClure does very well in these conditions. Austin Abney and Jay Shadron. And Shadron running up there in that number 4 spot right now and looking pretty strong.
The headlights looking good right now. Now, one of the things you touched on, and I heard several riders talking about this on the podium earlier today as well, that local feel. Break that down a little bit more. Obviously, the GNCC circuit, that's a national circuit. These races have kind of started to become their own as far as the personality traits of these courses. But here, we heard that mentioned a lot at Talladega as well. Is it just resembling the tightness of the course, or is there more to it?
No, there's more to it than just the tightness. That is definitely a big factor. XC2 on screen, still Gross out front, still Jeremiah Wolf in that number 2 spot, coming fresh off his first ever XC2 podium, and then Elijah Edmondson, a strong ride for him here early in that number 3 spot. The other difference is just kind of the flow of the track. You're going to see these guys a lot up on the pegs, kind of changing their weight from side to side to really kind of force and wheel these machines through not just tight but turny. It's left, right, a lot of switchbacks, 180s, you know, a lot of tight 90-degree turns. If you think of kind of what we consider a more conventional GNCC track like Hoosier that we're going to next, or I'm sorry, Powerline that we're going to next, or Hoosier after that, those courses have a lot better flow. You're up in, you know, third, fourth gear, even getting up, you know, into fifth gear some of the times and just really carrying a lot of speed. They get rough. You've got to, you know, kind of just stay on top, like we would say. Where it gets rough, you kind of want to bounce over it. Don't really have that opportunity on a track like this because the speeds are so low. You're kind of down in it. You're hitting every bump. You're feeling the roots. You're feeling the rocks. And it's cool that GNCC can bring this old school feel back. I'll go on record and say I would hate this track. It's not for me. Years ago, this is what we all kind of grew up doing, but GNCC has evolved into its own animal, and it's become so rough. It's almost more a athletic test than it is just pure speed. This track is more a mental test than anything because these guys are not having a ton of fun at the higher speeds of the front runners. You know, further on back, a lot of guys are like, hey man, this is great. This is just like a local track. We're out here. It does tend to keep the racing a little bit tighter, and we'll hope to see that here today. But tell you what, everybody better get on a move and get on the gas if they want to keep up with this guy, because he runs a lot of locals back in Southern Ohio. This is going to feel like a lot of those tracks for him, and right now he's putting on a clinic, and already, hate to sound like a broken record, but Bryson Neal stretching out a lead and marching away. Jared McClure, though, keeping a good pace, not under too much heavy pressure, but Chase Shadron looking strong there in the number 3 spot.
Yeah, you talk about, as soon as I heard you say maneuvering and, for lack of a better word, manhandling those ATVs around, I had to think about Bryson Neal. I mean, the guy was almost bunny hopping the quads in certain sections of Talladega, and you could even see right there, he just seems to be able to put that Phoenix Racing Yamaha ATV wherever he wants it, wherever he needs it as well. And kind of similar to, we talked about Alex Thiemann and the confidence that goes along with it. There's a calmness that comes with that as well. We saw Bryson Neal, he was outside the top 5 headed into turn 1, but by the time they got through turn 3, he had stayed calm, adjusted, taken some outside lines, and put himself in that number 2 spot headed into the woods.
I'm going to tell you guys someone to watch out for today, a rider I think we really need to keep an eye on, and that's going to be the 246 of Brandon Owens. Not just because he's running in the number 4 spot, because this is like every Wexer or Southern Ohio local race that I've ever been to, and when that kid was on a 250 hybrid machine, he was keeping up with Bryson in a lot of races, and I used to go down and run some of those races. There he is right there on screen in the number 4 spot. I think today could be a very, very good day for Brandon Owens, but he's already starting to get a little bit of pressure. Josh Merritt, and then you see John Glutta Jr. and Walker Fowler have now bridged that gap, and they are to the back of Merritt. So Adam McGill losing a little bit of time here, and then we see starting to open up behind him. Next should be, Wyatt Wilkin got around Boric from our last camera shot, and also got around Stephen Harrell. So a big move for Wyatt Wilkin. And now here comes the rest. And as we saw there, Austin Abney has caught up to the back of that XC1 pack with Ronnie Rush just ahead of him there.
Yeah, it looked like Walker Fowler kind of pushing the pace a little bit behind John Glutta Jr. And I think that was another big thing we were interested to see. Everybody talks about the change in momentum, but what can you do with that? If you're John Glutta Jr., you want to and not let the last round be a one-off, right? You get up on the podium. You could see almost a sigh of relief being up there and just kind of getting back to the way John feels he should be riding, but you want to repeat that with a top 5 finish or a podium if you can stretch it, and Walker Fowler definitely the guy to help push you towards a podium position.
Well, and here's the thing for Walker, and we're obviously not discounting the fact that all of those guys in front of him are very strong, and many of them have podiums and even wins of their own, but Walker Fowler wants to be racing this guy, and has really proven to be the only guy to do so far in 2025, and right now Bryson Neal marching away. He's going to have a pretty substantial gap on Walker at the end of lap 1, and there's still going to be at least 5 or 6 riders between them. I think we're going to see close to a 25 to 30 second gap back to where Walker's at. By the time Walker, even if he can make those passes next lap, we're going to see upwards of a minute between Bryson Neal and back around that 5th, 6th spot where Walker's kind of toiling around at right now. So Bryson Neal doing everything right, seeing an opportunity, getting to the front, taking a look back, realizing, hey, the guys that kind of I think might be able to run my pace aren't there right now. And just there you see we got the head nod, and that is bad news.
It is early for it.
Lap 1, we've already got a head nod. We may as well just get ready to watch some poetry in motion here because Bryson Neal is on one, fellas.
Man, and this is beautiful, too. He gets out in that open section. You see him cranking it slideways in some of these. And he's also riding very far ahead as well. You could see him setting corners up a few and ahead, limiting how much he's got to turn the machine. It just seems like nothing catches catches this guy off guard. Jackson, you were able to not only check this course out as we were walking around it, you were able to get out there on your Blue Crew machine and ride it a little bit. And one of the things that I really thought stood out when you came back was, man, the rocks. And I know it almost sounds cliche talking about them, but sometimes it's not even the big boulders that catch you off guard. It's some of these small ones that can lift the front end up and just move things around. Obviously, you were on a motorcycle compared to the ATVs, but man, these rocks are really treacherous out here in Tennessee.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the ATVs will have to deal with the same thing, right, Johnny?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the rocks are just absolutely treacherous. I mean, trying to not tear up the machine, go fast, pick smooth lines, it's just very, very, very challenging on this race course. It's so hard, to Zach's point, you really got to look ahead. You can see there's some insides and outsides. And on a track like this, the shortest distance isn't always the fastest line. Sometimes you want to hit those outsides, carry your momentum, and just keep that flow going, because like we talked about, the track intrinsically doesn't have a lot of flow. You have to figure out a way to create that flow. As we look now, riders checking in, and we do have our top 6 checked in. It's a 24-second lead for Bryson Neal. We saw how quickly that opened up, and then it's, just bumper to bumper to bumper all the way back to that 6th place spot of Walker Fowler, looking like 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 31 seconds back to, and again, we're not saying Walker's going to get there, but right now he is the rider on the move. But Jared McClure, solid run for him here in lap 1, only giving up 24 seconds to the fastest ATV rider in the world in the woods right now. The Bidwell Bullet is just like he's shot out of a gun.
Man, I'm telling you what, I think we've got our second head nod already as he's made his way through the pits now. That is dangerous. I'm trying to watch the last camera shot that we got through the field. Looked like Walker Fowler may have made a pass. I couldn't quite tell, but they were really right all over Josh Merritt, and it looked like Glotta was there as well. There's 2, 3, and 4, and behind Merritt,
it is Glotta.
Yep, that is Glotta.
Still Fowler.
Still Fowler, okay.
So and now look at this. Adam McGill starting to come back to this group. And just behind him, Wyatt Wilkin. We saw him put a big charge in the last couple miles. Another rider, again, hate to keep repeating it, but really just very, very powerful in the local races. Will oftentimes over the years, give Bryson all he can handle on some tracks like this. So I think if these guys can kind of organize themselves and get a good push in, kind of funnel themselves into a formation where they're kind of trying to move forward instead of battling each other, that's what they're going to need to do to keep Bryson in check, because until he hits lappers, which is probably going to be at least another full lap, I would say, until he gets into any amount of lappers, maybe a straggler here or there, he's just going to continue to open this gap up.
Well, and Wyatt Wilkin, the last rider we kind of saw on that freight train. The good news is all the way up to second, kind of there within eyesight. He'll be able to see them. The bad news is the man out front is gone. 25 seconds when they came across the stripe. We saw Wilkin, unfortunately, another just not able to get the start that he needed here off of this, and these riders are basically hit the ground running right from the green flag drop, so finds himself outside the top 5 looking in, but we know he's got the speed and the fitness to be able to get up on the podium and fight for wins. So we'll see whether or not the number 3 is able to march forward. But right now on your Yamaha Racing live drone, we are watching the Big Blue number 1 of Bryson Neal. This is this is how you're supposed to do it right here. I mean, just stayed calm right off to start. Things didn't go exactly his way, but man, as soon as he got a breath of clean air, that was all there was to it.
Well, we actually have on property with us this weekend William Yoakley, a former multi-time GNCC overall winner from that XC1 class on ATVs. And we were speaking a little bit earlier about, just kind of the state of racing and how things are. And he said, what do you expect from the race today? I said, man, I'll be honest with you, it's going to be tough for anybody to stop Bryson Neal. He's just kind of almost getting to the point where you start talking about being on another level right now. And the thing he pointed out, he watches all the races from home on Racer TV. And William, if you're out there listening, I invited him to come in and give us his perspective. Very knowledgeable, has won a ton of races, a long-time top-level competitor. But he said, it seems like Bryson has just kind of calmed down and figured it out. Doesn't let anything really frazzle him, rattle him. He just puts in the work, comes to the racetrack, and does his job. Almost no emotion to it, and that becomes a very dangerous thing at this level. One thing I do want to point out as we're looking at our on-screen here, Alex Tiemann with some big moves has actually gotten around Kenny Schick and also had gotten around, let's see who was behind him, Andrew Banoski. So he's up into that number 4 spot in the XC2, but look at that. We got one blue there, Cole Likens from that college A class up into 18th place overall. Man. So he is on a mission right now, up into the top 20 overall, starting all the way back there on row number 3.
Man, did you see the rocks and the way that ATV was able to soak them up? And that's got to be a big part of this as well, Johnny. How much do the setups change in conditions like these? I know talking to a couple of the bike riders, they were coming over here to ride some rocks this week to help with bike setup. These ATV guys, how drastically are they changing things?
I would be surprised to find that they had really changed much of anything. But one thing that has changed, we've got a new second and third place rider. Jay Shadron and Brandon Owens have made their way around Jared McClure up into that 2 and 3 spot. And just like I kind of said, guys, and look at this. Now Walker Fowler up to 4th has gotten around Glaude, gotten around Merritt, and gotten around McClure.
Wow.
All in about 1.5 miles of racetrack. But I'm telling you guys, keep an eye on Brandon Owens. This is the kind of track, these are the kind of conditions where his riding style, it's kind of, let's just say a little loose. He's willing to kind of let that machine float under him. He's very loose. Like he's not concerned about the bike getting kicked sideways in the rocks. He just stays on the gas and really pushes the pace. I think we could see a really good ride out of him today, so let's not take our eyes off him.
Well, and Brandon Owens too, just in that last shot, it almost seems like the body language is a little more intense. It's these guys, sometimes you can tell whether they're feeling it or not just by the energy or the life that they have here early in the race. And so, yeah, you can tell Owens knows the opportunity. He's got potential at a podium, and so really going to be exciting to watch as Bryson Neal might be checking out, but man, he's got basically the whole XC1 field hanging out right behind him.
Yeah. To finish up your thought there, Zach, as far as bike setup, no big changes on the ATV side. The only thing, everybody really makes sure that they've got extra Loctite on all their skid plate bolts and all that kind of stuff. And then maybe a little bit of extra most of the guys run tire balls or blocks. They might change that setup a little bit just to avoid flat tires. But you can see, last lap, here's the tail of the tape, guys. There's where that 20, it's looking a little bit different there, but about almost a 25-second advantage came from. Now we're seeing XC2 on screen, and it is still your top 3 coming through there. But yeah, Bryson Neal just able to put in a pace that nobody else could match. Everybody else, all the way back to Adam McGill there, kind of within basically a 13-second range, with Bryson Neal being almost 25 seconds faster than everybody else.
And I know we've got a little bit of time. We're only at the 2-mile mark, but I'm very curious to see what this next lap looks like for Walker Fowler, as well as where he checks in at. We saw him making some quick moves, almost catching us off guard with it. What are you seeing, Johnny?
That was our XC2 points leader. Alex Tiemann, again, has gotten up to that number 4 spot, but in that amount of time we were talking, that's how much room he needs to make up, how much time to get to a podium position. Now here comes your 5th place rider. That's the 259 of Kenny Schick, followed by the 142 of Banoski, and then it looks like Junkin James Glaude there. Good podium for him at the last round. I see Tanner Walker in there. It looks like Alex Elioff, and there is Cole Likens. So that is your top amateur already, as we pointed out, well up into. There's Andre Williams, another rider who's been very close to a podium in that XC2 class. Cole Likens is on a mission, guys. He is really moving out there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him continuing to move up that overall, currently sitting in that number 18 spot.
Yeah, cool new feature here on Racer TV. If you weren't with us at our last round, OPAG helping us keep everything organized there on the side of your screen. So all the red numbers, that's going to be your XC1, the green, the XC2, and then our blue is our amateur riders, and we've got that lonesome blue is sitting in that 18th spot. Cole Likens duking it out with the XC2 field, but all by his lonesome at the front of the field right now is the number 1 of Bryson Neal. You just saw go by here at the 3-mile marker. And now we wait. We don't have the stopwatch out, but man.
Well, I was watching the clock when he came by. It was 33:10 as he kind of exited this section. So we'll be able to get a rough idea of it. So we're at 17-18 seconds right now. We know it was roughly 24 point. We're going to jump ahead to the PowerPoint, and you can see this track just really kind of twisting its way through. It is still Jay Shadron in the number 2 spot, but look at this. Man. Walker Fowler has gotten around Brandon Owens up to that number 3 spot. John Glaude Jr. in 5th. Then it's Josh Merritt in 6th. Looks like Fowler and Merritt are kind of the guys on the move right now. Adam McGill putting in a big charge right on the back of the sneaky snake, Jared McClure. And then just like that, here comes looking Stephen Harrell, a little bounce back. Looked like he was losing some time. Looks like he's kind of gathered himself up. But Jay Jay Shadron looking really good there in the number 2 spot, but I have a feeling he's going to be under some heavy pressure from the number 2 of Walker Fowler. And Brandon Owens looking pretty racy as well. John Glada Jr. not wanting to let those guys get away, wants to back up that podium he got just 2 weeks ago in the sands of Camp Coker.
Yeah, excited to see how much of a fight we get out of Jay Shadron. Got to think he's going to be able to see that's Walker Fowler just behind him. And then if you're Brandon Owens, got to think the key is just to sink your hooks into Walker Fowler. Just try to ride behind him and let him take you towards the front and see how much you've got left in the tank in those final few laps. But yeah, Walker Fowler, you can see the intensity is there. And we've talked to him. I don't think it's any secret. This guy knows what he needs to do, and he's doing everything he can to figure out how to get it done.
And that is the battle we see on screen right there. The rider ahead is Jay Shadron. Again, a rider we've seen have some really good, solid performances. A great ride in Florida at round 2. But these would be more home conditions for Jay Shadron. Lives down in Florida in the winter now, but he's from that, I think it's technically Pennsylvania, but where he's at may as well be West Virginia. I mean, it's a lot of rocks, a lot of hills. You know, this feels probably like another just day riding in the mountains behind his house. So he's always done well, getting his first ever overall podium years ago at the Marvin's Mountaintop, what we used to call the Mountaineer prior to the Mountaineer we have now, in just outside of Morgantown, Masontown, West Virginia. And again, very similar conditions to this. He kind of sees those lines in the rocks. He's able to carry his speed, stay on top, like we talked about, kind of bounce through those rock sections. One of the keys on an ATV, you know, on a dirt bike, it's really kind of picking your lines, keeping your momentum. On an ATV, it's almost, you just got to throw caution to the wind in some of these rock sections and just say, hey, we're going to build a new machine after this one because we're going to go ruin this one.
And that's what I was going to ask, and I know Jackson and I were talking about this earlier as well. The way you guys approach rock sections or rock gardens, if you will, it's just completely different than the bikes. But the balance side of it, obviously balance a part of ATV racing as well, but it's just a little bit different. So you're saying basically you just kind of throw caution to the wind and go for it.
I mean, there's definitely, you can find good lines, and you don't want to just blindly charge in without picking your line. That's a good way to end your day. But yes, honestly, riders that have consistently had more success in rocky races have a tendency to just kind of find a way to bash through the rocks is the best way to say it without damaging the machine. And there is an art to it, but a lot of times it's kind of just close your eyes and hang on.
Johnny G keys to the race there, Jackson.
There it is.
Johnny G's keys to the race. Plan on replacing your frame, A-arms, rotor skid, all 4 wheels, and that's pretty much at the pace that the top, 5, 10, 20 riders are going to be running. There's going to be a lot of damaged parts today. The key is to keep the machine well enough together to get to the finish, but everybody's going to have some battle scars after this one today.
Now, another big thing that people were talking about coming into the weekend was the weather. It looked like we had some rain in the forecast leading into the weekend, and then had a little bit of sprinkles yesterday, but all in all, we really got the good end of the stick. Missed a lot of that rain. Still some moisture in here, but a couple of those spots you can see a little bit dry, a little bit dustier as well. Johnny, I know you talked to a lot of those riders after they go out and bike the track. What were they seeing? Did anything kind of catch them off guard? And from year 1 to year 2, what are they thinking about this course?
Yeah, kind of like I mentioned before, everybody was really surprised by the amount of rocks that came up out of the ground. This place, if you've been into the woods at all, there's a lot of those big table rocks, I call them, flat, big, thick slabs of rock that you're kind of racing on. But it's the smaller rocks that have come up out of the ground that are really catching everybody off guard. Just under the dirt surface, all the organic material for many years, the leaves fall, the sticks break down, all that kind of stuff turns into dirt. Well, when that gets washed away after the rains, after the race we had here last year, you start to get down to more of the base, and this one has a lot of rock mixed in the base. That's been the biggest change. I was just going to make a comment that to me it looked like Jay Shadron was actually starting to open the gap up, and just as soon as we say that, Walker Fowler back on him. So it looks like these two pretty evenly matched right now. Each of them. Oh, look at this.
What's going on?
Oh, okay, just some deep ruts there.
Slow section there, yeah.
Looks like some deep ruts, but these two fairly evenly matched right now. Walker definitely has sections where he's considerably faster, but then we saw Jay just kind of pull away from him through some sections. So, kudos to Jay Shadron. We've talked about it. Mikey and I kind of get almost choked up about it. I mean, this guy had some very, very serious, not just ATV racing injuries, but life-changing injuries that he's been on his way back from. And to see him now up in the mix, battling not only for a top 5, but for second place with a 7-time overall champion and 77-time race winner, Walker Fowler. Jay Shadron, you're making a fan out of me, buddy. I mean, he is absolutely showing that you can do anything if you put your mind to it, and he's working hard out there and looking great.
And he's a bad dude, without a doubt. And I know Walker Fowler is probably like, Jay, I really want to get around you, but I'm pumped that you're up there right now. I'm good for you.
Yeah, it's a feel-good story for sure, and I think we actually had an opportunity to catch up with Walker Fowler as he's now there trying to track down that number 2 spot. Made a bunch of passes, and I think before today's show, we got to sit down with him and see a little bit of his thoughts on coming into this race here today.
Yeah, you got to keep winning. You gotta slow the number 1 down, and you got to start stealing wins back. So I don't know what I got to do to figure out how to do that, but that's going to be the only way to make it happen. Obviously, getting the machine to the finish line, too. It's very rare that all the pro racers finish all the races. Last year, I think, was my 15th professional season and only the 3rd time I'd finished all the races. So the odds of a DNF or a bad race are pretty high. And if you can't win, you got to be second. And taking that 3rd last race really stung because that was a 9-point swing. And 9 points is a lot. Losing 5 here and there isn't a big deal, but the 9 hurts. So I just, gotta figure out how to stay up front. So I am happy with the points right now and how the season's going, but gotta be a little better.
So it seems the likely kind of the question asked there was, what's it going to take to stop the big number 1? Walker Fowler being very vocal about the fact after, especially in Talladega, like, hey man, I just can't stop this guy right now. Interesting line from Stephen Harrell. Kind of weird to pop down there. Unless I'm missing something, there's a good top line there. There you see Jared McClure. Oh, I guess there is some more water there, so it is a mix. But he's saying, hey, you got to start stealing those wins, and the only way to do that is to get up to him. And right now, it's kind of what Walker looks like he's working on. Looks like Ronnie Rush has gotten around Chris Borch, and now he is under pressure from. We see these two together a lot. The 703 of Abney and the number 10 of Chris Borch, both action off-road racing teammates, and they are doing battle right now, looking like they are back in about that 13th and 14th place position. 12th and 13th. I believe we do still have Grayson Eller, the 171, and there he is. He is fighting to try to get back to the back of that XC1 class. We maybe get to stay at this camera shot long enough to see our leader in XC2, which last we knew was still Braxton Gross, but he was under pressure from Jeremiah Wolf.
Yeah, Braxton Gross had some company for sure. One of the things I really like about Walker Fowler's interviews both on the podiums, on camera, and then just when we're talking to him as well, is how aware he is of the whole situation, right? He's in a very unique situation between himself and Bryson Neal, and these guys they're such elite level athletes that you could hear even in that interview, if you can't win, you got to get second. Yeah. And the pressure that these guys must be feeling, and I think at Talladega we got to sense a little bit of Walker feeling that pressure, saying, man, I just did everything that I could possibly do and still came up short of the goal. And so those guys have a ton of respect for each other. It's cool. Sometimes I don't even want to break in and do an interview on the podium because they're having a race breakdown right there, and it's a ton of fun to hear. But having a ton of fun right now,
wheel to wheel. But look, I thought that was for a minute. I thought it was Tiemann, but it is still Edmondson. So shout out to him there in the number 3 spot, still in sight of your leader Braxton Gross in the XC2. Jumping ahead, we do have Bryson Neal out front at the 6-mile marker. We'll see if OPAG can get us a split. Will it still be Jay Shadron in the number 2 spot? Will Walker Fowler be able to make the pass? Still lurking back there as well, the 246 of Owens, also Josh Merritt there, also John Glada Jr. So there's a bunch of guys there in that pack battling for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all still pretty much wheel to wheel.
And it just seems here on Racer TV, from what we can see, it doesn't seem like Shadron is holding up Walker. No, Walker's definitely got some pace, but I don't think Shadron's like keeping him at bay. You can see Walker doing everything he can, but Shadron just got an answer for all of it at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think there is different sections of the racetrack, so it is still Owens there in the number 4 spot, Glada in 5th, and then Merritt in 6th. So they're still in the same running order we last saw. Jumping back over, now we've got the rest of our XC2 class coming through. There's James Glada on screen. There is Keaton Henderson. Now back over to the 6-mile marker, Adam McGill coming through in the number 7 spot. So that running order still remaining very much the same. Actually, it looks like he may have dropped back to 8th. Now Wyatt Wilkins gotten around, and some pressure coming from Stephen Harrell, and that is Hunter Hart starting to stir. Hasn't really been making too much noise through the first lap and a half of this one, but he is now putting on the pressure. Jared McClure charging, trying to get back up to that group after a great first lap of racing for him.
not sure if I missed it on our last camera shot, but I thought Glotta had made that pass on merit. I must have.
He actually was ahead of Josh in the previous couple camera shots. He got him somewhere. Then it's Borich. It looks like Abney has now gotten around Borich, and we will see Grayson Eller coming through. We'll see if we get our XC2 battle, because that one's really starting to shape up now. We've got the top 3 all in the same camera shot. We don't often get to see these guys, but we can tell by the points. We can tell by the stories after the races. You know, those guys putting on some crazy battles out there. And here we see Grayson Eller on that 171 Phoenix Racing Yamaha. Interesting story coming into the season. Was planning on coming back and contending for that XC2 championship. Did not realize that there is a rule. If you finish in the top 15 overall on ATV side, you do have to move up to that XC1 class 2 years in a row. And he was in the top 15 2 years in a row. Was planning on running XC2 this year, but said, hey, I didn't really feel like I'm ready for XC1, but we're going to go learn. And he's been getting a little bit better each race. Actually, I felt like had a pretty good run at round number 1, but he's still getting his legs under him. But he's got the resources, he's got the talent, he's just kind of figuring it out. And I think we'll see him up in the mix and a lot closer to the top 10 here soon.
Yeah, certainly going to be fun to watch the development of the 171, and with teammates like the number 1 of Bryson Neal, John Glotta Jr. as well. He's certainly got some good people to take notes from or to bounce ideas off of, but going to be a ton of fun to watch. You talked about not getting to follow that XC2 battle quite as much. Man, they are so, as there you see right on screen, Braxton Gross. This guy is really falling in love with all things GNCC. We know he's a West Coaster. He's kind of moved over, and don't get me wrong, I think he likes a good sand race, a good dry race, but I think this guy is fully embracing GNCC racing. He's got a lot of families helping him out, and clearly they're putting in some hard work as well.
Yeah, and he put in a great ride at Snowshoe last year, which is similar conditions to this, a little bit faster. Teaming on the move now in that number 4 spot, starting to close the gap to Edmondson in the number 3 spot. So, you know, again, we talk about Alex Tiemann kind of gets that bit between his teeth about midway through the race, and I think if he can see the leaders, he's definitely going to go after him. And guys, we are coming up about that 50-second mark now. It's opened up, judging by what I saw on screen. And yeah, if these guys want to go, if they want to try to race Bryson for a win today, that door is starting to rapidly close. We've talked about it so many times. Once you get to that minute, man, it's never impossible. Anything can happen, but you get up near that minute, it becomes a bridge too far to cross. And we're getting close to it really quickly.
Yeah, we're getting really close. And still having that kind of freight train of second through about that 5th or 6th place position as well. So all of those guys are right there. And you touched on it earlier. Sometimes you got to focus a little less on battling the guy next to you. And both of you guys have got to focus on trying to catch the guy in front of you.
Yeah, and that's the key. You know, if you're Bryson Neal, he's been able to kind of win races from everywhere on the racetrack. You know, obviously when he gets a good start and gets out front, it makes kind of an easier day for him. But he's been able to come through the pack. Nobody else really has been able to do that to come for a win. You know, we did see Walker Fowler multiple times already this year come through the pack to get to 2nd, and then last race come through the pack a few different times to get to 3rd. But I think the biggest thing I've noticed this year watching the races is Bryson is able to make those passes where seemingly nobody else can, and make them in bunches and make them quickly. You know, Walker's been coming through the pack well, but the biggest thing, Walker Fowler has always been a good starter, and this year not been the case. He's not been really near the front on the starts. He's just struggling with those starts. He's not getting up there, whether it's him just being slow on the button. If he gets, you know, we have seen him a couple times kind of getting in first turn incidents, but he seems to be going in the woods towards the back of the pack almost every race, and it's really just allowing Bryson an opportunity. It's not giving him these leads, but right now Walker seems to be the only rider that can kind of match that pace early, at least what we saw in a couple of rounds. And if he doesn't get the start, Bryson just marches off, and once he gets that minute gap, he just kind of manages it from there.
And I've got to think, we talk about how mental GNCC racing is as well. When you're a rider and you kind of know your strengths and your weaknesses, if you're struggling at your strengths, it's got to sting maybe just a little bit more. If you're a good starter and you're not getting good starts, you're kind of got to be throwing up a few extra question marks. If you're a sand guy and don't have a good sand race, but this dude, throw whatever you want at him, put him wherever you want, all right, off the gate, it just doesn't seem to phase it.
Well, that's just exactly it. You kind of rely on those strengths. Some guys say, well, I'm a good mud rider, or I'm good in the fields, and, you know, it kind of gives you that little bit extra confidence. And Walker for so many years was, I mean, if he didn't get the whole shot, which he got probably 80% of them, you know, he was top 3 going into the woods. And this year, it just hasn't been, man. I mean, he's been fighting these battles from the back of the pack, and it's starting to show in the way he's trying to, make these passes. But again, kudos to these guys. No one's going to just pull over and let him by. Jay Shadron's showing great pace, but just nobody right now able to match the pace of the big number one out front, Bryson Neal. He's just proving to be too fast for everybody.
And you talked about these riders giving everybody a challenge, Jackson. We've even heard Walker say as well, I was trying to come through the pack, and so-and-so who's not in a points battle didn't get out of the way, and I don't expect them to. It's not like Walker's expecting somebody like a Jay Shadron to just say, hey, you're second in points, you go ahead.
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead, Jackson.
I was just going to say, as we saw those two on screen, now the rest of the crew making their way by. I just have to wonder what Walker Fowler's mentality is as a whole going through this. The winningest rider in GNCC history, he feels that Bryson Neal is just a little bit faster. We heard that from him at Talladega. I had to wonder about his mentality as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can never get inside somebody's head, but I think he's shown frustration, and you can take that one of two ways. You can say, oh, he's beat, he's not going to be able to beat Bryson, and that may be the case, but there's still a lot of fight in this older, more seasoned, spicy version of Walker Fowler, and I think part of it is, if you get him in the right frame of mind, I'll tell you, he feels like he still has the stuff. He's just not executing. Again, bad starts. He's been making some uncharacteristic mistakes, and he knows that he needs to get into that mindset, that rhythm, where he just goes out there and runs his own race. And the positions he's been putting himself in don't allow him to do that. I think that's where the frustration comes in. He feels like, I think the frustration at Talladega was he got a start. He was out there. He had the lead, and he just kept giving it away. Just kept crashing, hitting trees, said he couldn't do anything right. And that's when you really just kind of feel defeated, because it's like, okay, I had the opportunity, and I couldn't really do it. When you don't get the opportunity to race somebody, we all have the same opportunity when you line up. But when the way the race shakes out, you don't really get to go wheel to wheel with somebody. Looking like this, Hunter Hart now starting to put into charge. He's gotten to the back of Stephen Harrell, made some passes, made some time, and looking like he's starting to stir, and not a huge gap to get to the back of that battle for, like we talked about, basically second, third, and then fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Yeah, all the way back to Hunter Hart back in that number 10 spot. So actually, I think he's up into the number 9 spot now. So yeah, 2nd through 9 all kind of still connected. There are a few 5-8 second gaps in there, but a lot of close racing action all the way back through the 2 through number 9 spot. And here is the battle on screen for the number 2 spot, boys.
And they're playing a game of yo-yo. Shadron had to open it up just a little bit there in that section just before this. Now seeing Fowler starting to catch back up.
You see some alternate lines there. That's actually a 2-line section. You can go out and around, which is sweeping, or you can try to square it up and hit that inside. Walker Fowler trying to do everything he can to get some open running room, just not able to do it. But like we talked about, there's times where it seems like Walker's kind of behind Jay and has more pace, and then there's other times where he just isn't quite even on the rear wheels. So you surely can't say that Jay Shadron holding him up by any means. I mean, he's definitely keeping a good pace. I do think that if Walker's able to get around, we're going to see him pretty quickly open up a gap. But at this point, he's still got to make that pass.
Well, and I've been trying to watch and see if there's one section in particular that it seems like Jay's stronger at, or that Walker's catching him at, but there's not really any rhyme or reason to it. It just seems, hey, this section may be a small mistake from Shadron. This section, Walker Fowler doesn't execute to 100% on this, but it's a true back and forth, and yeah, it cannot give or take anything away from Jay Shadron or this man. Another lap in the books, the number 1, Bryson Neal, checking in, and excited to see what these lap times look like and what these gaps look like as well when they come across the line. Drag race here. Fowler wants that number 2 spot by the time they come across the stripe.
Look like he's starting to get a little bit more impatient now. Definitely starting to kind of put some more pressure on Shadron. You can see him kind of getting half off the line, almost probably trying to show him a wheel. Definitely wanting to make that pass sooner than later. I think what we're going to see here, guys, I think we're going to see upwards of a 1-minute gap coming through at the completion of lap number 2. Haven't seen the times yet. Obviously, these guys have not checked in, but here comes the rest of your top 5, 6, even back to your 7th place rider of Wyatt Wilkin. Here they come now, going to check in. Definitely going to be close to, if not over, a minute. 2 laps complete for Bryson Neal with a 26:26 lap time. Now Jay Shadron and Walker Fowler have checked in. 53 seconds, so they did kind of manage it. 1.4 seconds is the gap there from Shadron back to Fowler. We can see that's pretty much a matter of inches, that game right there. But so a 26:54 for Shadron and a 26:49 for Walker Fowler. Now we see some more of our top 5 riders checking in. Looks like Brandon Owens in that number 4 spot, 2.7 seconds behind Fowler, and then another 4.4 seconds back to Glada in the number 5 spot. Merritt now checking in 2.1 seconds behind John Glada Jr. Wilkin checking in 7 seconds back, and then another 12 seconds back to Adam McGill. Then Stephen Harrell and Hunter Hart both checking in, only 4 seconds together behind Adam McGill for the 9th and 10th place spot.
Man, so it looked like Wilkin was able to close in just a little bit on Merritt, who had just lost touch with John Glada Jr. I'm talking maybe a bike length or so, Jackson. Here we go. A pit coming in, and Fowler bypassing the pit.
Yeah,
they were already.
You have to. Those guys were going to stop him for a pit. He did the wise thing. You got to go, man. He needs to try to make that pass, which it looks like didn't see where Jay Shadron was pitted.
Yeah, we tuned in right as Fowler was cresting the turn, so we might have missed Jay Shadron.
Yeah, if Shadron didn't pit and Walker didn't either, that may have been a mistake, but I think he kind of assumed Shadron was going to pit there on lap number 2. So yeah, I mean, he's got to try to go for it. He's just having a hard time trying to make that pass. He's going to use that pit strategy, try to get around. We'll see if Shadron did pit. If he didn't, then that was a miscue for Fowler there, but we'll find out here in a minute. Looks like that may be Fowler on the right there, and there is Shadron. So he was able to get a round there. I'm assuming that's a product of that pit. So now Fowler going to try to put in a charge this lap, and hopefully confident that he's got enough fuel to make it. You could tell by the look on the faces of his father, Danny, and Mark Notman, his mechanic, that they were not pleased with that decision. But I'll go on record right now. If he makes it on fuel, it was the right decision because it got him the pass. If he runs out, then shame on him. But sometimes as a rider, you got to make that call. There's actually been a couple times over the years that Walker's done that, has a very high race IQ, and he knows what's going on out on the track. If he feels like he's got more pace and just can't get around, and those guys are going to pit him on a standard strategy, he's probably saying, no boys, I'm making this call, I'm going to make this pass, try to open up enough of a gap to not give the position back next lap, and hopefully he can make it on fuel.
Got to risk it for the biscuit. Walker Fowler risking it right now, but is able to get that second place pass. Bryson Neal did stop for the pit. You know you're doing something right when you don't even have to take fresh goggles. They're still sitting on top of the gas can. Yep. Another lock in and checking out.
That battle on screen right there is starting to heat up. That's Brandon Owens, the 246, in the number 4 spot, and John Glada Jr. really starting to get to his rear wheels and put pressure on, sitting in that number 5 spot. And then you see that quick moving object behind them, just barely catching the front bumper. That is the number 4 of Josh Merritt. We see Grayson Eller in now into the Phoenix Racing Yamaha pits, looking like he is out. And while we have a minute, while we wait on XC2 to come in, Grayson seemingly a little disgruntled with his results this year, but the bottom line is if you look at the overall, he's still ahead of all of the XC2 riders, just really truly going to show you just how fast the entirety of the XC1 class is going right now. Speaking of, Bryson Neal just punishing the rocks. He's saying, yeah, I'll make this rock pay.
I was listening to Johnny G there. He said, we got more skid plates at the shop back there. Not worried about it, and man, it's paying off for him. The dust now starting to settle before second place checks in. We'll watch and wait for what we believe should be Walker Fowler now in the number 2 spot. And man, it's
53 seconds was the gap at the finish line. Don't know if OPAG is going to be able to get us a gap, but I don't think we'll see a big change in just 2 miles of racing. I think the only place this race will really start to change the face of it is when they get into lapped riders. Not a lot of opportunities for the lapped riders to get out of the way, and there is Fowler on the number 2 machine there, looking like he's got a little bit of pace this lap. I think this is his big push. He's going to take his shot and see if he can make up even just a few seconds on Bryson Neal. If he can do that, it's a little bit of a confidence, and you can see he has stretched it out a little bit. We do think Jay Shadron pitted, but still it looks like he has gained a couple seconds there since we last saw him just a camera shot ago. But man, hats off to Shadron there in the number 3 spot. Then it is Owens. Then it is John Glada Jr. in that number 5 spot. And here comes Josh Merritt on the big number 4. There you go. Wow. So it was 53 seconds. Bryson pitted. So Bryson did pit, but it's 46 seconds is what we're told. So that's kind of even. You're talking somewhere in the 7 to 9 second range for a good fuel stop. We didn't have a clock on Bryson's, but if you take longer than 10 seconds, you're doing something wrong. You need to fire your pit crew.
Taking a look. So the last lap through, B. Neal 26-26 to a 26-49 for Walker Fowler. So still several seconds ahead. As far as from a rider's mindset, Johnny, Walker over these next couple of miles, is he going to be watching the gaps, the pit boards? Is he going to be looking to see, hey, am I gaining a second here to look for that momentum, or is it just I'm going flat out no matter what the numbers say?
I think this lap is going to be a flat-out charge for Fowler. I think he's just going to give it all he's got. Obviously, if he has the opportunity to get a pit board, sure, it's going to be nice to get a little progress report on his efforts, but the reality of it is it's just going to be a full push, throw caution to the wind, charge every rock section, just absolutely hammer every rut, and do everything he can. And I think when he does get back next lap, if he's not getting gaps out on the track, he definitely will get a gap when he comes into pit. And, I think if he's made up even just a few seconds, I think it'll be kind of a moral victory for him. But at the same time, 46 seconds being the gap, he's going to need to make up more than 2 or 3 to really have a shot, because when they come through next lap, likely we'll see, we believe, a white flag waving, meaning only one more lap of racing. But again, lappers could become a factor here. And look at this. Now we see John Glada Jr. really starting to put the pressure on the back of the 246 machine, which has actually pushed them up closer to Jay Shadron in that number 3 spot. So you've got 3, 4, 5 all in the same camera shot here from our Yamaha Racing Live drone. Jackson, this is a great shot with still not all the leaves on the tree here in Monterey, Tennessee, and we're getting to see a lot of action.
Yeah, we sure are. This is an amazing shot here from the Yamaha Racing Live drone. The only way that we can see these riders go through the entire course and see exactly what is happening and what is underneath these riders. And we see it right now. John Glada trying to track him down. This could be it. Not quite.
Right on him, but this is one of those sections of racetrack, just very one-lined, hard to make passes. And now we jump back over to the 3-mile marker, coming back on the split. Bryson Neal, the Phoenix Racing Yamaha out front. 46 seconds is the gap last we were told over the charging number 2 of Walker Fowler. Back to that battle over the number 3 spot. That's 3, 4, and 5 on screen.
Man, just taking a look at our results so far this season. John Glada Jr. in 8, a 10, a 6, and then a 2 at that last round. We talked about the switch of momentum. We saw it with Josh Merritt, with Wyatt Wilkin, and then John Glada battling back from some injuries as well. But, man, you could just see the sigh of relief and almost the excitement. He was on that podium ready to go race again. He wants to carry that momentum, and got to think a solid top 5 finish at the moment and charging forward. Seems like the momentum's working well for Glada.
Sure, absolutely. There's a lot to be said for confidence. Everybody in the offseason, Fowler on screen. OPAG may be able to get us a gap here in a minute. But when you work that hard, he finally kind of seemingly realized from those in his camp, like, hey, I'm getting outworked here. I have the talent. So we're told about the same 45, 46 seconds right in there. So no progress made, but no time lost. But now look at this. We talked about it. It's coming down to be a wheel-to-wheel battle between those 3 right there. Shadron now under heavy, heavy pressure from the 246 of Brandon Owens. John Glada Jr. right there, and Josh Merritt lurking in that number 6 spot. But John Glada, he's got the talent. He's got the speed. And again, these are words from people in his camp that he said he realized he was getting outworked, started to just say, okay, let's put in the work. Look at this. We got a new 3rd place rider. Brandon Owens up into the number 3 spot. And now John Glada Jr., heavy pressure on Shadron, trying to get around and take away the number 4 spot. And here comes Josh Merritt sitting back there in 6th.
So how about Brandon Owens so far? And, man, what a race we have had here at the 2025 Specialized Old Gray. It has been a good one. Bryson Neal has fired off so far here in this one. And, man, oh, man, what a race it's been. We're going to get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back here in just a few. Taking a look right there, Bryson Neal making his way through the finish line. Man, Bryson Neal has been one to handle here all day long. It's going to be a good one going down into this second half of the race. We'll be back here in just a few minutes on RacerTV.com for some more GNCC racing.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Let's take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to GNCC Racing here on RacerTV.com, the specialized old gray GNCC. This is the home race for our Landers KTM crew, and they had a fan fest going on yesterday at Landers KTM. So cool to see all of the top KTM and KTM group riders as well hanging out, signing autographs. I'm sure somebody probably went home with a brand new KTM. How could you not? And fans, young and old, big and small, all coming out to see their favorite riders and enjoy year 2 here in Monterey, Tennessee at the Old Gray GNCC.
Yeah, very, very cool. I, again, didn't get a chance to go, but it's on the list for next year. We drive past it when you come from the track from the hotel, at least. Yeah, so very, very cool experience for everybody, and a little love to the Landers KTM crew.
Yeah, always making it exciting, keeping all kinds of activities both here at the track and then at their shop as well. It's basically Landers, Tennessee, I feel like. Every billboard I see,
you get off the interstate or whatever, and there's the billboard welcoming you.
Well, the billboard for this guy right now, Walker Fowler, is catch Bryson Neal. It is simple, it is bolded, highlighted, and he knows what to do. He doesn't need the billboard. He's going to try to chase him down.
That's it. So Walker, making that kind of veteran move in the pits, bypassing the pit. Walker believes he can get back around and get himself refueled, but our man Jackson on the way to the pits is the rest of the XC1 rolling through right here.
And Brandon Owens, making the most of that pass for third place, has been able to put a couple of bike lanes between himself and Shadron. We talked about Shadron. I still don't think he's holding up John Glada Jr., but it looks like Glada maybe just has a little more pace. But, hey, it's one thing to catch up to a rider. You got to find a way around him to make a pass.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
James?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and some of these tracks, it's tough. When you're in the pits and you're running the pits, I've been on both sides of this coin. You don't want to be the one to make the call to, run a rider out of fuel for sure. And obviously if those guys were planning to pit Walker, they felt that was the time to do it. But, Walker rides a lot during the week. He knows how long. He saw the clock when he came through. This isn't a track where you're going to use a lot of fuel. It's just you're not hard on the throttle. You're kind of babying the throttle to try to find grip in the ground, which saves you a lot of fuel. And I really think that as long as he makes it was the right call for sure.
Yes.
Because we see the gap that he has opened up on the riders behind him, and he was just not able to get around Shadron. Again, Shadron keeping great pace, but just allowing Bryson Neal to march away to the tune of nearly a minute, 53 seconds and 2 laps of racing. What we've seen so far, at least through the first 4 miles, while Walker hasn't made up any ground, he stabilized that gap. He's kind of matched the pace of Bryson Neal. So, at least for right now, and he's definitely opened up enough of a gap that he will not have to, again, providing his machine makes it back around without running out of fuel, he will not give up that second place spot. So it would have been, like you said, a veteran move that's looking so far like the right move. We'll see here in about another 4 miles of racing if it actually turns out to be on screen. Here is Fowler at the 5-mile marker, clicking off mile markers, and also clicking off a little bit of anxiety for his mechanic, Mark Notman, and his crew, letting him know he is getting closer to getting back to being able to refuel that WFR racing machine. And there we see Brandon Owens now in the number 3 spot. Solidly. He's actually pulled a little bit of gap on Shadron, and then you see John Glada really kind of just riding in that roost zone, definitely looking like he's got more pace, but he's got to make the pass. He's actually starting to lose a little ground now. Josh Merritt coming up to the back of him again after he had gotten away, and here comes Wyatt Wilkin just lurking back there. The hair flowing, he's flowing, and he's getting himself up into that battle as he gets closer and closer to the top 5.
Yeah, got to think backside of the top 5, Levi Cohen is nervous, right? He's got Glada, Merritt, Wilkin all right there. And that's something those riders have, I know, talked with you about, Mikey, as well. They train together during the week, during the off season, and it's that mixture of camaraderie versus competitiveness, right?
Very much. Matter of fact, this morning we did that the specialized pre-race report. I interviewed Merritt, and then I went and interviewed Wyatt Wilkin. And they like a hawk watching each other and listening to every word, and they were cordial. But you could tell there's when the flag flies, I don't know you, you're not my friend anymore. And it was kind of comical. Merritt called Wyatt a name I can't really probably say on YouTube without maybe getting talked to by our bosses. But I love that. Like that's what it takes, to compete at this level with those guys.
Well, and they always talk about wanting to beat your teammate under the tent. Well, you want to beat your buddy too. I don't care who you are, whether it's racing in grade school or whether it's racing at GNCC. If there's one guy you want to beat, it's your buddy, because you'll never hear the end of it.
That's exactly it.
Ronnie Rush making a couple passes. He's actually gotten around. Looks like Austin Abney and Chris Borich. He is actually looks like Borich has not checked in with 2 laps complete, unless his no, he's on screen there, so he's definitely there. But he's gotten Ronnie Rush able to make some passes. A rider we saw do very well in the rocks of West Virginia at our first race back from summer break last year, putting himself on his first ever XC1 overall podium. Not looking like a podium in the cards today, but marching his way up closer to the top 10, sitting in that number 12 spot now.
Another guy talking about podiums, Jay Shadron, he was very, very excited about Camp Coker, had some high expectations. We'll put a pause button on that one because Jackson Burrell standing by with Walker Fowler's mechanic, Mark Notman.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Mark Notman. Mark, we saw the look on y'all's face when you come in when Walker missed the pit here. What's going through y'all's head? Does Walker have enough fuel to make it?
It's going to be cutting it close, but I think tighter track like this, we should be fine. A little bit longer than I wanted to go, but it obviously worked out. Got him in a second, and hopefully got a gap back to third for when we do stop. We can keep the second, try to run down Bryson.
That's exactly what we want to know. Thanks, Mark. And guys, Jay Shadron did pit.
Okay, so there we go. Thank you, Jackson Burrell, down in the pits. So there's your confirmation. Jay Shad did pit, and Walker Fowler did not. And Mark's cool, calm, collected. I think
so. It looking like on screen, just with some rough math, watching the ticket. Look at this. Did we miss Jay Shadron?
Maybe.
Okay, with our camera panned, so don't panic if you're a Shadron fan. We did pan, so he may have come behind the camera, looking like we had the rest of our riders come through. I didn't see. I don't think I saw John Glauda Jr. either there. So they may have been on the other side of the camera. But so as we came by on screen there, Walker Fowler about 20 seconds ahead of Brandon Owens, who was, they were all kind of right there together. So far, as Mark pointed out, as long as he's got enough fuel to make it back, definitely the right call. More than a big enough gap to not have to worry about relinquishing that number 2 spot back to Brandon Owens, and also still about another. Let's see, they were at the 6-mile marker there, so about another 3+ miles of racing before we see them back to those, actually about 4 miles till they make it to the pro pits, and then we'll see what the gap is there. But right now, looking like the right move. The Gator on screen.
McGill rolling through right there. How about Brandon Owens? We've talked kind of the story of this year. We talked pre-show. Okay, 2-horse race as far as the championship is concerned between Bryson Neal, Walker Fowler. Outside of that, I made the joke to Hunter Hart earlier about you throw the names in the Yahtzee shaker, and that's who's getting third. Last week, last race, Glauda with a second. But nonetheless, Brandon Owens maybe having a piece of that today.
Yeah, and that's I'll go ahead and pat myself on the back. Pre-show mentioned him.
You did.
No, it's any of these guys. I also mentioned Jared McClure. Obviously, he's not having the day that he would like to have here today.
Great start.
But Brandon Owens, these are very similar conditions. He runs what used to be called the Paul Kuntz series. And that's where the Sturdivants are from, who are kind of supporting his program right now. So I believe it's called the Mountain State Hare Scramble series. He goes and runs some of those. He's a Wexer kid from down in Southern Ohio. And, that's what these tracks are like. So we've talked about it before. We talk about the strengths. If you're a guy that gets good starts, if you're a guy that's good in the sand, if you're a guy that's good on faster tracks. For some people, it's a specific track. They do well at this place, no matter the conditions. For Brandon Owens, he's a fast rider, can be doing what he's doing today anywhere, but it's just that little bit extra swagger. And looks like we do have a pass for 4th place, which we think would be John Glauda Jr. around
Shadron.
Shadron for the number 4 spot. There is Fowler. He is now through at the 7-mile marker. Don't know exactly what that gap is, but we'll get a line on that as quickly as we can. And we look back. Next rider we should see should be the 246 of Owens. And on cue, here he comes snaking his way through these Tennessee pines, carrying good speed. And back there is John Glauda Jr. up now to the number 4 spot. He has gotten around Shadron, and now Merritt putting pressure on, oh, look at that. Merritt with an inside line trying to get a beat on Shadron. Can't get the pass made, but back there in the number 6 spot. And now here comes the number 3 of Wyatt Wilkin trying to get to the rear wheel of that battle to get himself in the mix to try to get a little bit closer to the top 5.
Yeah, we caught Josh Merritt just a few camera shots ago, and it really seemed like he had turned up the sense of urgency. He could see Glada maybe getting hung up just a little bit behind Shadron, the potential for a BOGO, and now he's knocking on the door of Jay Shadron. He wants to tag along with John Glada Jr., see if he can get around him as well.
Yep, and here comes Stephen Harrell. Haven't talked about him a lot today, but sitting back there in that number 8 spot, he has gotten around Adam McGill. So up into the number 8 spot. Not surely where he wants to be with the number 5 on his bike, but this is a rider, look at the amount of time that passed since your podium battle. He's not that far away from where he needs to be to keep himself in the mix, sitting solidly up in that 5th place spot in the overall points where he finished last year, but only 1 point behind John Glada for 4th and only 6 points behind Hunter Hart for 3rd in that championship points battle coming into today. Here is the Gator on screen, sitting now in the number 9 spot.
Walker Fowler, prior to today's race, was talking about how important it is to finish on the podium. Certainly a second if you're not getting a win. Had to, I'm going to use air quotes again, settle for a 3rd place at the last round. Josh Merritt made a good point that I hadn't thought about, and that is outside of B. Neal, and who's on screen right there, and Walker Fowler. Those are the only 2 guys with multiple podiums this year, just kind of stressing more the importance of getting on that podium, because you get outside of those 2, and there's a lot of guys in the 60s as far as points, a lot of guys in the 50s. It's anybody's game at this point for that, it's too early to give out national numbers, but that national number 3, that's up for grabs for just about everybody.
And that's and folks at home, like when we talk about this stuff, we're bench racing here.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
We talk about scenarios, we talk about what could happen, what would happen. Last year what we saw is Josh Merritt, Wyatt Wilkin, very quickly once the season got rolling, those guys were podium guys more than not. Yes, the championship battle was truly between Walker Fowler and Bryson Neal, especially once we came back from break and had that big shake-up in the points with Bryson scoring no points at round number 10. But prior to that, even at that point, those guys had distanced themselves. But Wyatt and Josh were like podium guys, and if they weren't, they were 4th. We haven't seen that this year. Hunter Hart sitting in 3rd place in points, no podiums. But the riders behind him, John Glada Jr. has a podium. Well, Stephen Harrell, no podium. But then you got Merritt and Wilkin, both with podiums. And then just behind them, you've got Jay Shadron, no podium yet, and then Austin Abney with the podium. Yeah. So it's kind of a mix of guys that haven't been on the podium. And now look at this. There is Brandon Owens, but John Glada Jr. really starting to stoke the coals. He's firing up that big diesel engine on the Glada Express, and he's trying to go after Owens. And now here, Josh Merritt really putting pressure on Jay Shadron with a little bit of help from lapped rider there. 9 miles, getting closer to the finish. Walker Fowler can almost smell his hauler and the fuel that he so badly needs to keep this machine going. I believe the only rider stretching it to 3 laps on this tank of fuel right off the start.
You talked about the inconsistency in finishes riders with the potential podium as well. Got to talk about Brandon Owens. 2 races, he didn't even score any points. 18th at our first round, but then a top 5 finish at round 3. So it's that back and forth of the riders having good days inside the top 5 fighting for podiums, bad days outside the top 10, maybe not even scoring points. So Owens trying to be another name on the list of got a podium but had some bad races as well.
Well, that's kind of been the MO in Brandon Owens' career. He's always had the speed. Even in XC2, he was like a guy that would win a race and then he would DNF the next 4. Yeah. And I think for a long time, again, just I'm a bench racing. I'm a fan here. I see things. His program was not the greatest. His bike was not finishing races. Don't know the ins and outs of it. Not making any speculation, but he's made a big change. He's now with that Sturdivant Racing Power Sports team. Those guys, both brothers, have raced GNCC. Brent Sturdivant, had some overall podiums when he rode for the Can-Am factory team back in the day. I believe had a couple podiums on a Honda machine as well. His dad, Don Sturdivant, they run a shop there in West Virginia. They saw the talent in Brandon Owens and said, hey, look, we want to put you on a bike that's going to finish races. And I think they haven't had the mechanicals. Now it's up to Brandon to kind of find that consistency to see, like, hey, I can be a top 5. I can be a top 10 guy every weekend, no question. I can be a top 5 guy consistently, I've got the bike to do it now, and it's kind of riding yourself into that confidence level. Right now, we're not talking about a top 10. We're not talking about a top 5. We're talking about a podium, baby.
Yeah.
And this would be a first for Brandon Owens and that Sturdivant Racing team. But John Glada Jr. got a podium 2 weeks ago, wants another one today, starting to put a little bit of pressure on Owens. On screen, there is the Bidwell Bullet out front, Bryson Neal on that Phoenix Racing Yamaha. Neri putting a wheel wrong and just absolutely hitting his marks and charging his way to what should be a white flag waving here in a matter of just about a mile.
Well, and another thing you talked about, John Glada Jr. and that urgency for that podium position as well. We saw this with Josh Merritt and Wyatt Wilkin as well. I don't believe that was John's first ever XC1 podium, as we do see the white flag coming out for Bryson Neal, but just that reaffirmation, I can do this. I've still got it. We, like I said, had that horrible wrist injury, has had a lot of trials and tribulations that he's been overcoming, and I think just being that realization, that little, hey, I can still do this. Now he says, I can do it. Can I do it 2 races in a row?
That's right.
Interesting, guys. Lapped riders definitely coming into play, but Bryson Neal did have a pit stop. 26:26 was his lap 2 lap time. 26:42 on lap number 3. So slowing down, about 16 seconds. Again, a big chunk of that likely the pit stop they did have. Looks like Walker Fowler now coming through the chicanes, working his way to what will be a white flag waving, signifying one more lap of racing here at the old gray GNCC in Monterey, Tennessee. Fowler coming in will get the tail of the tape, and the gap was 53 seconds last lap, 56 seconds this lap. Now, that was actually the gap to Shadron. Fowler having to get around Shadron, but again, no pit for Walker Fowler. So keeping it about the same but without a pit, so realistically probably giving up about 8 or 9 seconds with once you factor in Bryson's pit, but still the previous 2 laps losing about 25 seconds each lap. So definitely a smart move for him, as long as he can make it about 5 more corners here and get to the place where he can get himself some fuel and get back out on track. He does still have a comfortable gap of 20 seconds over Brandon Owens in that number 3 spot. But now, once Walker pits, that means that Owens and John Glada Jr. are going to be able to see Walker Fowler in front of them again. So will they be able to bridge that, say, 10 to 12 second gap to get back to his rear wheels, and potentially could we see a 3-rider battle over 2nd, 3rd, and 4th?
Let's go. Following the Bidwell Bullet, your leader on the Yamaha Racing live drone. I asked Walker Fowler during that specialized pre-race report, he has been where Bryson Neal is right now. There he is, Walker Fowler in the pits, as we're talking about you, buddy. But I said, you've been in the situation where Bryson Neal is at, where every time you line up, you're kind of expecting, I'm going to win today unless some kind of mechanical something happens. So I said, Walker, what has changed for you as you are in kind of the twilight of that pro career, now being the guy in the 2 spot, having to chase down that guy that we expect to win? And he made a really interesting point. He said, I've been focusing too much on everyone else. And I think by everyone else, he means, what is Bryson Neal doing? He's like, I've really got to focus on me and myself and how I'm racing, and again, to get back to that. And maybe that bypassing the pit, I know still pretty good gap, but that was Walker Fowler making a decision, I think, for Walker Fowler right there.
Yeah, no, and I think it's easy for us to say, sitting from, and Mark Notman making a good point, a little closer than I'd like it to be.
Sure.
And those guys, those guys need to err on the side of caution. But, Mark's a good buddy of mine, but I can tell you right now, I wholeheartedly agree with Walker. If it was me, I probably would have given him a hand gesture when I went by, as well as bypass the pit. Like, are you guys not seeing what's happening? Like, I can't get around. I'm going to go by, and if I run out of gas, then, so be it. I'm going for this. I just can't get around Jay Shadron. Definitely proved to be the right move. But, hero to zero, man. If he wouldn't have made it around on fuel, Mark could have been sitting there and put a little sign that said, out to lunch.
Told you so.
Hey, listen, man, we know. And that is tough, because your crew has more information available than you do. But at the same time, Walker's won a lot of these things, and a lot of those come on gut calls of, hey, this feels right, this is the right thing to do, let's go with it.
And we've seen in the past, Johnny, they mesh well, right? Like Mark and Walker. Walker has had some races where he comes off the track and really dogged the machine. This thing was a piece of crap today, and in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, man, him and Mark are going to come to fisticuffs. But that's just the level that they're at. They expect greatness, I think, out of each other.
Yep. No, and I think they know that they each have, the tools to do the job. Mark has the utmost confidence that every time he builds a bike, not only is Walker going to ride it to the best of his ability, but Walker's phenomenal at taking care of a machine.
Yeah.
You never hear of, oh, he ripped a ball joint off. Oh, he did this. He bent a frame. Like, he just doesn't do that. He gets the machine to the finish and without doing unnecessary damage. There's times where he flogs it, sure. But he knows what it's capable of, and he knows that he has one of the best in the game, if not the best, building his machine, and it's the confidence that they have in each other that allows this relationship to work. Bryson Neal, on the flip side, his own mechanic. You know, so when things don't go well for him, as far as the bike goes, it shows you right there, like, okay, I know who's responsible for this, the guy I'm looking at in the mirror. Look at this guy's lap times, and that shows you right there. I mean, that is a big difference. You look back to Jay Shadron, 27-24, let's see, what would that be? 27-24, so 18 plus another 24. You're looking at about 42 seconds faster on that lap for Bryson Neal than Jay Shadron. Walker Fowler would have stayed back there. He likely would have lost a chunk of that if he was not able to make the pass on Jay Shadron. So, yeah, that's right call there. But on screen, there is Fowler, the number 2. And, hats off to Shadron. Still solidly there in the number 6 spot. Still ahead of Wyatt Wilkin. And still in the mix. I mean, he's not out of this thing for a podium by any means. But it really was a couple good laps there for Jay Shadron, proving that he's got the stuff to get up there and battle for podiums. And here is the battle for the podium right now on screen. The 246 of Owens has that third place spot, and John Glada Jr. wants it.
Johnny, I got to ask you regarding Walker Fowler. You talked about the high risk reward type. Getting a word there from OPAG, just about a minute between Walker and Bryson. But as far as Walker Fowler goes, you talked about how much this guy wants to win and kind of hero or zero. Is there any interest or any thought for Walker as far as full season? Hey, if I can't get the win, I'd rather get a second overall in the season than a third. The potential for him to run out of gas in that race could completely change the direction of his season, but he doesn't seem to care. He wants to win, and if he doesn't win, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that situation, you're not really going to think that far into it and say, hey, could this cost me number 2? I would say likely, I don't know all the ins and outs of every contract, but he definitely has some podium bonuses for the season, not just each race. So second place for the year is going to pay more. It's going to put him in a better position. But at the same time, I mean, you said it right there, 7-time champion. He's not thinking about holding on to second place points. He's wanting to go forward and battle Bryson, and the only way to do that, as he said in his previous interview, is to start taking wins. And, when you're giving up 25 seconds a lap, kind of back in the pack, trying to work your way through, the move is, hey, man, I got to get clear of these guys and get some clear racetrack. And I would say it was just kind of calculated rolling the dice. Risk, it wasn't like, oh, hey, I don't think I'm going to make it, but we're going to try anyway. It was hey, I saw the clock when we came by, and we're at less than an hour. I know that in these conditions I can, not safely, but should be able to go an hour and a half. So let's go. Let's do this, and it paid off. And we see Adam McGill coming through, still back in that number 9 spot as they checked in here now with the white flag waving, meaning only one more lap of racing action. I didn't see, so if we look at the elapsed time, for just to give you an idea on the fuel, hour and a half is kind of the threshold for these machines, the way that they're being ridden. On this track, you might even be able to stretch it a couple extra minutes, but 1:19. So he's good. Like, to me, like you're saying that's not close. Like, you can do an hour and a half. So I mean, he had 11 minutes grace. It's and that's kind of where one of those things. Understand where the crew's coming from. They don't want to make that call and run him out of fuel because that would be disastrous. But Walker looking and saying, okay, like, I know I can do an hour and a half. I'm sure he didn't know it was going to be exactly an hour and 10, but he was confident. Or hour 19, he was confident it would be less than an hour and a half.
It is something, we're not used to seeing that so much on the ATV side in the 2-hour race. That is almost a move we talk about every single Sunday with the 514 of Stu Baylor.
That's a Stu move.
That pit strategy. And we've seen it work both ways for Stu. Sometimes like, man, he looks like a genius today. Other times we're like, dude, what the heck were you thinking? But when it works, man, it does work.
Well, and again, I think Stu's one of those guys where he's focused on the win, and second to third is what it is,
And on screen, we've got our battle. It looks like we're going to take this one all the way down to the finish. Bryson Neal working his way to the finish line for what would be 4 wins in a row. He's marched out to near a 1-minute lead, but Walker Fowler trying to chase him down. Brandon Owens trying to secure his first ever podium. And we'll bring you all of the action coming back here on Racer TV Live. We'll be back right after this.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
And welcome back to GNCC on RacerTV.com. Progressive Insurance, the largest insurer of, motorcycles, ATVs. Hey, they also insure campers. And boy, we've got a lot of them. QR code on the screen. Give that a scan if you're at home or here at the track watching. And get yourself a quote on Progressive Insurance. Save you some money on that camper insurance. I mean, just look around. This place is spacious. What a difference a year makes. We told you guys this place was great. We just needed the weather to cooperate a bit, and it sure did this weekend. And do yourself a favor. Save some money on your insurance. Get that quote from Progressive and save.
All right, so we're waiting here at the mile 4 marker on what I believe should be our leader, Bryson Neal. And we are, so keep your eyes out for the big number 1, the Bidwell Bullet. Get down to the closing stages of this one, an hour and a half in so far.
Hour and a half down and forever to go for Bryson Neal. All it is just mile markers at this point. We see him on screen from our Yamaha Racing Live drone. Big number 1, you can't see it through the trees, but those lap riders see it coming up on him, and they are moving out of the way quickly. They do not, for 2 reasons. Number 1, they don't want to get in the way, and number 2, they want to get lapped so they can call it a day. They don't want to have to do another lap.
Sure.
They're getting pretty tired at this point, an hour and a half in, but this rider, not tired at all, stretching his legs, continuing to just grow that lead little by little, able to put another about 7 seconds since the completion of lap number 2. It was only 3 seconds. We saw 2 and change there on the lap times that he put on Walker Fowler, but then Walker Fowler having to pit, giving up another couple seconds there in the pit. So right around 1 minute was the gap we were last told at our last camera shot. So not a wheel-to-wheel battle. Bryson Neal kind of all alone out front. Walker Fowler kind of by himself there in the number 2 spot with about a 20-second gap over that torrid battle over that final podium position between Brandon Owens, who has it, John Glada Jr., who wants it, and then I did see there was a shakeup back there. Wyatt Wilkin had actually gotten around Jay Shadron and gotten around Josh Merritt and was up to the number 5 spot. Merritt, though, had latched onto the back of Wilkin. Looked like those two, the battle we saw for the number 3 last year, is coming down to the battle over the 5th place spot here today on track.
Yeah, this round, number 5, feels very pivotal as far as Josh Merritt is concerned. Oh, here we go.
Walker Fowler. John Glada Jr. has gotten around Walker Fowler. Something happened there, and they all came together. I'm guessing we had a bottleneck there, folks, because Glada now up to the number 2 spot. Fowler back to 3rd. Owens in 4th. And then Josh Merritt, or Wyatt Wilkin in 5th. And there we go.
So, yeah, little bottleneck, some stuck lappers. Those guys got stuck behind.
Big blow for Fowler there. And opened up a gap, and now he has got to get try to get back around the 712 of John Glada Jr., who's now up into the number 2 spot. And he talked about it in his pre-race interview. 9 points is the difference between first and third.
Yeah.
Only a 5-point gap from first to second. So you know he's going to throw everything he has at it to try to get back around the number 712 of John Glada. But John Glada going to say, hey, man, I got second at the last race. Sure, I want another podium, but second sounds better than third to me. He's not going to make it easy for the charging Walker Fowler.
No, not at all. Walker made this move on Hunter Hart just a couple of weeks ago. As a matter of fact, he even said, man, I threw everything but the kitchen sink at Hunter, and it ended up being a mistake that Hunter made there late, and Walker was just able to get around him. He was kind of giving kudos to Hunter Hart on playing that good defensive riding. So now we'll see if John Glada Jr. can do the same.
Well, and, you know, guys, we do still have several miles of racing. Yeah. Yes, Bryson Neal has over now probably closer to a minute and 20, minute and 30 gap because of that issue with the stuck lapped riders that we're told, you know, Walker Fowler losing that time and losing positions. But at the same time, Bryson Neal still has to navigate about 4 miles of racetrack. So any bottleneck, any, you know, slight miscue could tighten this race up quite a bit. But with a 1 minute plus gap, you know, he's got time to kind of come to a stop, look around and say, what do I need to do to get around this cleanly? Or in Bryson's case, just get off, pick up the ATV that's blocking the trail, throw it to the next county, yes. And then, you know, jokingly, he's just a very strong, stout young man and probably could carry his four-wheeler around the course if he needed to.
And this is going to be a good one here with Fowler back in there. He is on screen right now.
He's already gotten back around John Glada, back into the number 2 spot. Then it's Glada in third. Then it's Owens in fourth, Wyatt Wilkin fifth, and Josh Merritt sixth. So, guys, talk about pressure. You see Walker Fowler, John Glada, Brandon Owens, Wyatt Wilkin, Josh Merritt. Boom, 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 boom. All the way back to sixth. I'm not great at math, but that's going to leave 3 of those guys off the overall podium, and they're going to be able to see the two riders that do get on the podium. Man, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for 3 of those guys for sure.
That's just been the tail of the tape this year, is that guy that ends up in fourth. I feel like we're talking about him at the end of the race like you were just 2, 3, 4 seconds back from being on the box. And we've got that exact scenario here today again.
And even Jay Shadron, still close there. I mean, not really in the mix. A few miles left, anything could happen. But again, man, can't say enough about how well this guy rode through the first 2 laps of racing and even kind of hanging close through most of the third lap within sight of a podium position. Man, just huge, huge, huge kudos go out to Jay Shadron in a podium position throughout much of the race here today and looking like he's going to lock down a solid probably 7th place finish here today because he has a big gap over Stephen Harrell, Adam McGill, and the rest of the field behind him. So, again, barring a miscue and just on cue, here is Harrell in that number 8 spot coming through. Has broken free of Adam McGill. Good ride for him today. You know, surely not what he's wanting, but again, a rider that we've talked about. I think he is going to be the one of the next ones that we talk about, the first podium of the year, and in this case, for him, it would be the first podium of his career. He's riding very, very well right now.
He wants a piece of the puzzle, piece of the pie. Brandon Owens in that same boat, flirting with it today. Shout out Grayson Eller, Elijah Edmondson, Dylan Walraven. 1, 2, and 3.
Grayson Eller's in the XC1 class.
I'm sorry.
That's
yeah, you're right. Elijah Edmondson, Dylan Walraven, Kenny Schick. Eller's supposed to be red.
Yeah, we must have lost Braxton Gross. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we've got Braxton Gross.
There we go.
So you're actually Gross and team in 14 and 15 overall. Those are both XC2 riders.
I was bragging about how much I loved the color coordination on the ticker, and it is awesome, and this is not a shot at you, Adam. That was my fault. Instead of reading names, I'm looking at numbers.
There you go. Leader on screen. Bryson Neal through, and Braxton Gross still leading the way in that XC2 class. Alex Tiemann, as we look at the elapsed time, though, 1.09 seconds behind. So Tiemann, we talked about it. Late in the races, he gets that charge going. Now we see Walker Fowler. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Bryson Neal was 1 camera shot further ahead. I got a little confused there. I said that was pretty close. And now here comes John Glada Jr. in the number 3 spot, looking like he may be starting to open up a bit of a gap over this battle, which is Brandon Owens, Wyatt Wilkin, Josh Merritt, and right now those 3 are the 3 who are looking from the outside in, trying to get to a podium position, which is just ahead of them up there in the number 3 spot. John Glada Jr. has it. Those 3 are trying to track him down and get to the position where they want to be on the box today, to thank the sponsors, to pop the champagne, and it's a good feeling when you're on the podium there, and it's a pretty bad feeling when you race that hard and you're just off of it. It's man, it's a tough one to swallow.
Jay Shad rolling through, 2 headlights.
Can never miss Jay Shad.
Can never miss Jay Shad.
Especially on darker parts of the racetrack.
You can see him through there.
Ricky Towery has that checkered flag in hand, or right there next to him, but he is waving the white. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty here, folks. Just a few more miles of racing. Hour and 37 to this one. Looking like we're probably going to be a little bit short of that 2-hour mark, but we will make the prescribed window for the minimum race length. We're now looking at our camera at the 8-mile marker here in the Yamaha Racing Woods, it looks like, with those Yamaha trees. And we're waiting and watching for the number 1 of Bryson Neal. Out front, upwards of a minute gap now on Walker Fowler, who had it down around 56 seconds. They were kind of matching each other on lap times last lap. Fowler having to pit. There we see Harrell back at the 6-mile marker, still out there in the number 8 spot. We are told by our drone operator, Gabe, that we could see there were some stuck lapped riders. Walker Fowler losing time, losing positions, has been able to make those passes back, get back to the number 2 spot, but giving up even more valuable time to leader Bryson Neal.
Close one for Walker Fowler. Not out of the woods yet, pun intended and literally, but nonetheless, Walker, some major challenges today, but able to stick in that number 2 spot out in front of the rest of the pack. That big battle there from about 2nd back to 6th. Look at the finish line there. Got to give a shout out. The young lady sitting in the camping chair to the left-hand side of Ricky Towery. And forgive me, I met you. I know your name. It's slipping my mind. That is Ricky Towery's granddaughter out here hanging out with the Towerys this weekend.
Robbie Towery's oldest daughter.
Yes.
So she grew up GNCC racing without even being here. The whole family.
And she was in on turn 1. Rider goes down. She's out there in the mix. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but she did, okay?
It's okay. She had an official shirt on.
She did.
Yeah.
So,
looking like there is Boric. That was Abney just ahead of him. I tell you what, one rider that looking like, and I just looked on screen and see Hunter Hart dropping back, had put in a good push, and now all the way back in the number 11 spot overall. 10 seconds behind Ronnie Rush, who's about 11 seconds behind Adam McGill. So Hunter Hart looking at lap times with a 28:38, about 2 minutes off the lap time of the leader. So something going awry on lap number 3 for Hunter Hart. Had put in a good charge, had kind of gotten to the point where he could see that 6th, 7th, 8th place battle, now dropping all the way back to the number 11 spot. And another day that Hunter Hart not going to be super happy with the results here. It's just been more consistent than 2024, but still not yet having a podium with a 4.644. Good consistent finishes, but today an 11. If he's not able to make some passes before the finish line, that's going to be a big hit in the points, and surely will drop him well outside the top 3. Currently sitting in the number 3 spot, 69 points. He has 5 points over John Glada right there. Glada's going to jump him in the points. Stephen Harrell probably would still stay behind him. Josh Merritt may jump him in the points. So that's a big mix-up there for Hunter Hart. Going to need to try to gain some positions before the finish line if he can. Man, heartbreaker for him here today.
It is, and I asked Hunter, as we watched on the Yamaha Racing Live drone, if he felt any more pressure this season compared to last. I said last it felt like the wheels fell off. This year, you're in 3rd. Not a podium yet, but you've been consistent as far as finishes. And he's like, no, I feel no pressure. It's me versus me. After today, maybe a little pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to put it. But it's not early in the season. We're approaching the midway point. Still time for Hunter Hart to get things turned around.
Sure. I mean, 3rd in points to this point. It's been although not what he wants, I think just so heartbreakingly close to podiums at rounds 1, 3, and 4. You know, I mean, there, coming to the finish, you know, in a position to battle for a podium or near, and just not able to close the deal and get it done. You know, those are good races. Yes, you want to be on the box, especially if you're Hunter, you want to be battling for wins. But the reality of it is, you know, when you're within sight, fractions of a second, a couple of those races from a podium, you know, you gave it all you had. Obviously, I think the big heartbreaker for him up to today was that 6th place finish in Florida, where he was running up inside a podium position throughout much of the race and just not able to get it to the finish line and kind of be in the mix towards the end. And then today, really never in the mix for a top 5. Kind of clawed his way up solidly into the top 10. And like I said, off in the distance could see that battle, that 6, 7, 8. And now dropping back, you know, all the way to 11th. It's just, man, just not what he was hoping for today for sure. Here comes Fowler now on screen.
Fowler has chipped away at it quite a bit, I mean, B. Neal still certainly in the driver's seat. OPAG going to get us a gap. And here comes that hard charging pack for that 3 spot.
Now this is now a new battle for the number 3 spot. Wyatt Wilkin has gotten around Brandon Owens and has basically glued himself to the back of John Glada Jr.
Man, let's go, boys.
What a battle.
Might be a wild finish. Bryson Neal working through mile marker number 9.
We'll see what the gap is. Just a couple sections left. I don't think there's going to be enough time to make any more ground. But 21 seconds, and that just goes to show you how much things can change with lapped riders. Walker Fowler able to make up upwards of 40 seconds in just a few miles of racetrack. But again, Bryson Neal really just clicking off the mile markers at this point. I think Walker Fowler is going to run out of time to be able to do anything here. But you never know.
A little late, but he certainly built on something.
Let's watch this
for
battle.
Third. John Glada out in front, Wilkin in that 4 spot.
These two guys good friends off the track, but right now they're not worried about friendship. If Wyatt Wilkin has the opportunity, he is going to definitely run a wheel in on John Glada Jr. and try to push him wide to make that pass. These guys are battling over a podium, baby. Friendships can resume once that checkered flag's done waving and when the podium's over.
And B. Neal still going to have to course his way around lap traffic. And there he gets hung up just a bit.
This is now really down to the end here. This is that section coming to the 2 line we were watching earlier. Walker Fowler taking that outside as Bryson Neal does as well here. There's an inside line there too. Now we're going to come back. All they have to do is they've got some viney-piney sections right along. Oh, look at this. Lapped riders, though. Not going to be 20 seconds, but he's definitely going to give up several seconds in this section. I think we're going to see things get a little bit closer. Again, though, now we're down to just a couple of chicanes left.
So watching Bryson Neal trying to course this, and he really got nowhere to go to get around the lapper. He's just got to, I'm going to use air quotes, play patient and wait until there's a spot right here. And now that rider knows, oh, holy smokes, that's the number 1 Phoenix Racing Yamaha, B. Neal. Neal gets around him, and still no Walker in that same camera shot. But that probably felt like an eternity for Bryson Neal.
He probably only gave up, 5, 6 seconds there, but he was only working with 21, so you don't want to give too many back.
They may have to do it one more time. Still trying to keep my eyes on the back of that camera shot. Don't think Walker into that same shot. And Bryson Neal able to get around the lap traffic, trying to bring it home now.
Yeah, just a couple more chicanes here. Into the woods one more time. Got a back fourth, and then he will come out to a checkered flag in the hands of Ricky Towery and putting the finishing touches on win number 4 on the season. 4 in a row, Mikey.
4 for 4. I think that's what he used to talk about. I think now Wendy's is like a 4 for 18 or something like that because of inflation, but
COVID.
Blame the Rona. But nonetheless, man, but it's the tariffs. It's the Wendy's tariffs that are causing that. But yeah, Bryson Neal, he's just been incredible. And very close to bringing home another win here in 2025 and extending that points lead here for the season. There it is. Checkered flag flies for the Bidwell Bullet. Bryson Neal going to take home your win here at the Specialized Old Gray GNCC. And We look out for Walker Fowler as well as that battle. Looks like Glotta still leading the way for the 3 spot in front of Wyatt Wilkin.
There Walker Fowler has crossed, but that battle coming to the finish line, wheel to wheel, Wyatt Wilkin and John Glotta Jr. And it looks like we got 1 turn left to go.
In the dust. Who wants it? This is for the 3 spot. Glotta 3rd and Wyatt Wilkin will have to take 4th place. That was an absolute dogfight between those two. And Johnny, how about this? Bryson Neal, multiple podiums. Walker Fowler, multiple podiums. Coming into today, they were the only 2 after 4 rounds of racing. And now you can add John Glotta to that list after a 2nd place finish 2 weeks ago and a 3rd here today.
Well, yeah, definitely a great ride for John Glotta Jr., holding off a lot of pressure coming from Wyatt Wilkin. Looking at the last lap time, you want to talk about what could have been Walker Fowler with a 27:06 lap time, shaving the lead down to just 12 seconds. Bryson Neal definitely having some struggles with lapped riders. But if you look earlier in the lap, Walker Fowler having some struggles and actually dropping back to 3rd. So, today could be the tale for Walker Fowler of what could have been, what maybe would have been a battle had he have gotten a better start. But Bryson Neal getting the job done. Absolutely masterful performance from start to finish by the number 1 machine.
Yeah, sensational day. Just caught a glimpse there. Wyatt Wilkin with a fist bump to his teammate and buddy John Glotta Jr.
We do see Jay Shadron has now checked in that number 6 spot. Josh Merritt, 36 seconds back behind Wyatt Wilkin in the number 5 spot. Shadron in 7th, 23 seconds behind Merritt, and that is your top 6 now checked in. Looks like Brandon Owens not yet checked in, so something happening with Owens on that final lap of racing. We'll see if he does check in and able to secure himself a top 10 position.
Sounds like, I believe, Zach Herron standing by with our winner here today, Bryson Neal, the Bidwell Bullet.
Hey, thanks, guys. Yeah, we're down here asking which side is Bryson's good side, but it seems like for the number 1, every side is the good side. Man, I heard you talk with Mikey before the race today and talking about the confidence that just the entire team is in as far as, hey, if things don't go our way off the start, we don't panic. We've got the confidence to know that we can work our way to the front. But, man, what a great start. Weren't inside that top 5 into turn 1, but you were 2nd going into the woods, and the rest smooth sailing, 4 for 4 like a Wendy's combo, man. Take us through it. Another win in the books.
Yeah, man, today the start was crucial. That track was real tight. It's actually very demanding out there. I actually thought that last year might have had a little bit better flow than this year, and that usually don't happen. Usually one year the GNCC races here and comes to town, the next year gets a little bit faster, but it felt a little bit slower today, the track and the flow of things. But Jared got a great start. We was able to go into the woods 2nd, rode behind him most of lap 1. I think I got him somewhere at the halfway point. And, man, I just tried to attack the track in pieces. The places that had the sharp edges, rocks, and it's a little sketchy, I was just trying to take extra time and be conservative and, think about the war and protect my chain sprockets as much as possible because, man, these Tennessee rocks, they got some real square edges, a little bit different than what we have in West Virginia and PA and Ohio. Man, there's some real sharp ones out there that can really end your day. Everything was going really good, flowing great, but man, the last lap I just hit it the wrong time twice. The lappers, twice in a row, they was just stuck deeper than heck in the main line in the rut in the tightest section, and the very first lap guy, I came to a complete stop, and I was looking left and right. I was mowing over trees. Man, I did about a 100-point turn up there in the woods, just trying to shimmy my way around him in the tight stuff. I lost all kinds of time. Then it happened again, and then I was really starting to lose it because I got the pit board, so I was only up 20 seconds. I was just like, man, that minute lead just wiped away like that. So try to just be smooth and, bring this thing in right hard, but still manage the rocks and protect the bike. And we was able to bring this thing home and click off another win. So it feels dang good. We're flowing. Starts are good. Feeling great. Like you said, got the 4th win in a row. We got momentum on our side, and we're really looking going to back up north to Ohio at the next round.
I was about to say, kind of going a little more into the home advantage, if you will, a little more conditions you're familiar with, but it just seems like you guys, I think I said this exact thing in your last interview, you're firing on all cylinders. The home life's good. The work life is good. Things are looking good for the number 1.
Yeah, man, I can't say enough about this Phoenix Yamaha ATV team. David Eller and Wayne, Lonnie, and Gary, everybody at the shop, everybody here at the races, Fred Andrews, the entire crew, everybody who comes out and helps. My guys, my dad, Justin Fowle and Troy Edelblut, Tyler Ward, my uncle Mike Geen, all my friends who come and support me. Man, we got one heck of a team underneath this Phoenix Yamaha tent, and we're just super proud just to put it up front with them guys. And man, we was having fun. Wayne, he was. I was getting flashed from the last lap by him. He was smiling, had me smiling. So man, we're just having a good time. Everything's clicking. The bike's feeling great. Just got to stay on our P's and Q's in the shop, keep the wrenches tight, and I just got to keep doing my best effort week in and week out to stay healthy and keep this bike finishing.
It takes a village, but the B. Neal crew comes out on top here at the Old Gray.
Well, congratulations to Bryson Neal and Johnny. He's having fun on an ATV, and it's hard to pick on anything B. Neal's not doing just about flawlessly.
I mean, 4 straight wins and the points lead he has right now to back up the 3 consecutive championships coming into today, speaks volumes. Actually, it looks like that may have been our XC2 winner coming in there. We'll see and refresh that. We did see our top 11 checked in. Unfortunately, we have lost Brandon Owens. Did not make it to the finish line. Had a great podium position even going into that final lap of racing. So a heartbreaker for Owens. And I did see that correctly. That was Alex Tiemann that checked in, getting around Braxton Gross and grabbing the win in that XC2 class with a 23-second gap over Braxton Gross. Looks like we do have Walker Fowler ready for his post-race interview.
All right, guys. Yeah, I'm down here with Walker Fowler. Walker, you said if you can't win, you've got to get second. That's exactly what you were able to do here today. Take us through your race from your point of view.
These starts are going to kill me, man. Otherwise, I had a blast. This property's awesome. Shout out to the Landers family for letting us come back. Man, the weather was great this year. Great track. It's a really fun racetrack. It took me a little bit to find my mojo, but man, we were able to claw within almost 10 seconds of the number 1, though. Wanted another lap. Man, I wanted another lap. I felt damn good. So, oh well, we didn't get another lap. So, man, I'm pumped. God, like I said, these starts are just killing me. We got to figure it out because it's making my life really hard. I saw he went in the woods of 2nd or 3rd and can't be 8 places behind, and he'd be out of sight in the first 3 corners. So other than that, like I said, man, I had a really good time. Iron Jong actually caught me the last lap at a bottleneck and was able to get around me and show me just how fast we really could go around this track. So I was like, well, I got one little spot picked out. If he misses it, which he did, was able to get back around him. And man, just going that extra 3 or 4% faster, it made the track even better. Man, this B&R suspension, Kenna tires, man, this thing was absolutely on rails today. DP brakes and Behringer brake system slowing us down and keeping us with brakes all race. I had a slight malfunction with the rear brakes the 3rd lap, but they came back, thank goodness. And man, wanted a little more. That was a lot of fun. I didn't even really care what place I was in. I just was having a really good time riding my 4-wheeler. So I feel good. Shout out to Levi Cohen, Outlier Performance. I've been slacking on the workouts. He knows I haven't been texting him, but still been doing enough work. His program's really good, so I feel good, man. I just that first 30 minutes, I got to be better. So whatever I got to do to figure that out is we're figuring it out slowly, bits and pieces here. But I can't tell you how much fun I had riding my 4-wheeler today.
That's what we like to hear. All right, guys, back up to you. That's Walker Fowler, your 2nd place.
Well, congratulations to Walker Fowler there. He's 2nd place. Johnny, he wanted 5. He wanted a better start. He wanted 5 laps. So
yeah, well, I think those
bookends of the race.
Those 2 go hand in hand. I think had he have gotten a better start, he would have felt like he had his opportunity to see if he could run with Bryson. He didn't get that today, but he gave it all he had, and it's interesting to see. He seems like he's ready to go already for the next round.
Very much.
Look to see a clash of the Titans here in 3 weeks in Indiana. Ohio.
Back home in Ohio. Hey, how about this for some momentum, some confidence, 2 podiums in a row? I believe Jackson Burrell standing by with John Glotta.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with our 3rd place, John Glotta. John, man, what a ride here today. Take us through it.
Didn't get off to a great start, so didn't make it easy on myself that way, and got into it, felt all right the first lap, and then towards the end of the first lap I started to get into a groove and started picking people off, and had a pretty good battle going behind Jay and Brandon for a while, and then they kind of both made little bobbles, got around them, and then the last lap was just I tried to open up a little gap and ended up catching Walker, getting around him for a minute. But I kind of knew I should have took that line he got back around me on. I wasn't sure which one was faster, so he ended up getting back around me. But just pumped to be back up here again.
Yeah, man. Second time we've talked in 2 races. How you feeling going into the next one? How's your confidence?
All I needed was that one last race, and now I'm back to feeling myself again.
All right, guys, you heard it. That's the one he needed. Back up to you guys.
John Glada, always quiet, like very, very quiet confidence, but the guy's absolutely an animal on the ATV, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's spoken about how he feels he has the stuff to run with those leaders and showing that. And again, I think hats off to him for getting it done. And, we'll give a shout out to our buddy Levi Cohen for finally getting him in shape to be able to show his true speed for the course of the entire 2-hour race.
Well, going to take a look at our Specialized race recap on a sunny day in Tennessee. Bryson Neal talking with Big John there, and Walker Fowler, 2 heavy hitters and favorites coming into today. What a difference a year makes. A lot of rain, a lot of mud last year. This year, we're kicking up dust on the starting line. And how about this for the Cobra, the Sneaky Snake, getting a hole shot in that XC1 class today. I didn't think these poor guys were ever going to get unstuck. But, boy, has this one rolled on, Johnny. I heard you guys as soon as I came into the TV booth. Well, Bryson Neal's out front. This might be bad news for everybody. Turned out you're exactly right.
Yeah, he was able to just, once he got to the front, was able to open up a gap pretty much immediately. 24 seconds on the first lap, 53 seconds on the second lap. Walker Fowler marred back in the pack in about that number 10 spot off the start, having to make passes, push up through. But, man, there was a whole host of riders that threw themselves in the mix. Maybe they'd get a podium today. We saw Brandon Owens up there. We saw Jay Shadron up there. We saw John Glada Jr. We saw Wyatt Wilkin. We saw Josh Merritt. We saw so many riders looking like they may get themselves on the box today, but when it came right down to it, Bryson Neal staying out front. Walker Fowler making a late race charge with the help of some first getting hurt by the lap riders and actually giving up the number 2 spot on the final lap to John Glada. Then next thing we know, the next camera shot, Walker Fowler only 20 seconds behind Bryson Neal. Things started tightening up, and it was just a mad dash to the finish line for Bryson Neal.
Bryson Neal putting a little hot sauce on it there through the finish. There's that finish for the 3rd place spot. That's how close it was. John Glada sealing the deal, hanging on for a 3rd place. Wyatt Wilkin, that one's going to hurt. He's got a couple of weeks to think about it before we head into Ohio, finishing 4th, and Merritt rounding out the top 5. Jay Shad, great start for him, just didn't quite have it on the back half of this one.
Yep, Stephen Harrell there in the number 7 spot. Austin Abney in 8th. Hunter Hart making a few passes on that last lap, benefiting from Brandon Owens' misfortune and getting around Austin Abney to get up to that number 9 spot.
Great day, Johnny. I think the 2 guys we expected to be out in front, they finished in front. If you look at this on the outside looking in, you're like, okay, yeah, that's exactly how I expected it to go today. And maybe that's true for Bryson Neal, but Walker Fowler, again, he said it himself, the starts, man. He's got to get those starts dialed. I heard you make a good point early in this one about those guys get so caught up racing one another that's allowing Bryson Neal to just check out. I mean, he's going to do what he's going to do, but Walker's got to be there with Bryson early.
Well, and that's the thing. To this point in the season, no one else has shown the speed to run with Bryson Neal. Yeah. So if Walker Fowler's starting behind even 2, 3, let alone 6 or 8 of these guys, he's going to give up way too much valuable time. He pointed it out. I mean, he said it himself. He's got to get the starts. He's got to be up front. If he doesn't get the whole shot, he needs to be ahead of Bryson. That's just how it's got to be. Otherwise, Bryson's just proven to be too good in 2025. Nobody's able to match his pace, especially when he's alone out front.
That's it. Final thoughts? Big takeaway?
A big takeaway from today, I think for me would be, just the number of guys that are throwing themselves in the mix for this final podium position that seems to be up for grabs each race. Not that you just hand them out to Walker and Bryson, or Bryson and Walker, but at the same time, those two have been, the guys that have been on there every race. Now John Glada Jr. puts himself in the mix saying, hey, now I've done it twice. I'm the only guy other than those 2 that has done it more than once. So he's kind of jumped himself to the top of that discussion of, Merritt, Wilkin, Austin Abney, now John Glada Jr. These guys have all had podiums. Glotta, the only one that's done it twice.
And the only guy that's got a second that is not named Walker or Bryson. So I have nothing to add to that. I think the big takeaway is John Glotta. I think this is, Johnny, you can speak to this. I know coming off some injuries, but this is what I think we expected to see out of Glotta when he jumped into the XC1. 2025, it's finally coming to fruition for him.
Yeah, it's been a great season for him so far. And, man, I think my big takeaway, well, I'll throw it back to you and ask you yours, is why do we have to wait 3 weeks? Why can't we just race again tomorrow?
Yeah,
it was good action today.
I think,
what was your takeaway from today?
No, John Glotta.
That was period. It? You're just okay, I didn't know if there
doubling
was,
down on it. Doubling down.
I like it.
We'll be back tomorrow with more from the Old Gray. We got the Pro Bike Race slotted for a 1 o'clock start time. We'll be going live about a half an hour prior. And then we got round 1 of the Bagger Racing Lead. Is that Chuck Walla? Am I saying that right, Adam Gordon? I hope I am. All right, good. I got it right. And then, of course, round number 2 the next day. And then GNCC round number 6. Powerline Park. We're going back, baby. A GNCC of old making its return last year. On behalf of Jackson Burrell, Zach Herron, Johnny Gallagher, our camera operators, Matt, Josh, Adam, Leah, Kirsten, Mike, the drone pilot, Gabe Scholl, our manager, Dan Reinhart, our second engineer, Jack Renner, our engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden, replay operator, Cameron Cotter, director, Don Hampton, our producer, Adam Gordon, and our executive producer, Miss Carrie Jo Russell. I'm Mike Uanes, and you've been watching GNCC on RacerTV.com.